Adele, the clan leader, just dropped a bombshell on Desmond. He's on his knees being told to get out of the clan for good. He's in total shock, like he can't even process what he just heard. Desperate, he asks Adele for a reason, like why is he getting kicked out? But Desmond's simple question just unleashes all of Adele's rage. Adele blames him and only him for their epic fail in the last dungeon, calling him a totally useless enchanter, leaving Desmond just speechless. Desmond tries to defend himself, thinking, dude, I literally sensed the danger. But they shut him down before he could even argue. Suddenly something gets chucked right at his head. The impact hurts, silencing his protest with a shot of pain. Adele is fuming, ordering Desmond to take responsibility for his own screw-ups and grabs him hard, accusing him of trying to pin the blame for his own weak magic on him. He calls him an ungrateful brat, reminding him he did him a huge favor just by letting him in. And his threat sounds like it's about to get real. Just in time, a girl steps in telling Adele to knock it off. She calmly warns him that they can't act like this outside of a dungeon. Adele's frustration is written all over his face as Desmond looks at his savior, Marina. Ignoring her, Adele just shoves Desmond to the ground, dissing him one last time. Marina switches gears, asking Desmond about his scouting method. She lets on that she's a mage too. He tells her his secret is enhanced smell, a technique she seems to recognize instantly. But then her whole vibe darkens and she straight up accuses him of lying, completely trashing his ability. Desmond insists his magic is real, telling Marina to stop capping. He tries to explain that his magic is just different, even if it's not the standard stuff. Marina just scoffs at his power, pointing out that any decent enchanter would be way stronger. Acting all superior, she reminds him that the clan's rep as the Supernovas is on the line. Taking Adele's side, she coldly says there's no room on the team for dead weight. Totally defeated. Desmond mutters that without him the clan is going to be in some serious trouble. Adele gets in his face, brushing off the warning and telling everyone there's nothing to worry about. A new warrior steps forward as Adele reveals he's already found someone to replace Desmond. The warrior calls for the new member, while Desmond, still on the ground, watches in disbelief as a smiling, super confident B-rank mage introduces herself as the clan's new enchanter. The new mage makes her big entrance as Desmond watches from the dirt, completely humiliated. With a super bright smile, she gushes about how excited she is to join the famous sword clan. Adele puts a hand on Desmond's shoulder, looking down on him like he's absolute trash. The leader taunts him, basically saying a higher-ranked member means his complaints are worthless. Marina joins in on the fun, confirming he's fired with a cruel, satisfied smirk. Even the warrior accuses him of just using the clan's skills for his own selfish reasons. And the whole team just stares at him with disgust as Adele insults him one more time with a final firm look. Desmond finally gets it. He's done. He accepts his fate and decides to leave. As he walks toward the exit, his ex-teammates actually celebrate him leaving and demand he leave his stuff behind. But right before he goes, his eyes flash open, glowing an intense blue, hinting at some kind of hidden power. His secret power is revealed to be Appraisal Eye, an ability to see stats as actual numbers. He thinks about how without his own enchantments, he's not even skilled enough to step into a C-rank dungeon. A memory hits him, remembering the promise they all made as rookies to hit the top together. The betrayal cuts deep, and he regrets ever believing they were a real team as he walks out of the city. Desmond treks out into the lonely countryside, leaving his old life in the dust. Sitting all alone, he wonders what the heck he's going to do now. He knows he can't survive without a team, but the betrayal is still too fresh, and the thought of joining another party just feels impossible. His thoughts are cut short when some adventurer spectacularly trips and eats dirt right near him. The guy is terrified, looking at a mage and asking if there's a Catalpus in the area. Then a massive B-rank magical beast comes out of the trees, confirming his worst nightmare. The D-rank adventurer starts to panic, while his mage buddy tries to calm him down with zero success. Acting all cool, the mage says she's a B-rank and casts a strength buff on her friend. But the beast attacks instantly, sending the warrior flying right in front of the stunned mage. Now the huge Catalpus is looming over the two adventurers, who are completely paralyzed with fear. The creature opens its massive jaws, ready to eat them, and all they can do is watch. In that terrifying moment, a bitter memory flashes in Desmond's mind, wishing his old team had ever understood his true power. He remembers how they clowned on his magic for only increasing stats by 20 points. Done watching from the sidelines, Desmond raises his staff and it starts to glow with an intense green energy. With a dead serious look, he casts his own strength enhancement spell. The magical energy surrounds the two adventurers, shocking them just as the beast is about to strike. The warrior, now surging with insane power, braces for the hit with a whole new attitude. With his new strength, he actually deflects the beast's attack, stopping it cold. The Catalpus stumbles back, growling in fury at being pushed back by prey it thought was weak. Both adventurers look at each other in total disbelief, having no clue where that sudden power boost came from. The beast, totally ticked off, the monster ditches its first target and goes straight for Desmond. But Des is quick and casts another spell, making the warrior crazy fast so he can slice up the beast. Desmond gets super serious and spills the tea. His magic is way more than just a 20-point boost. For real, his power doesn't just add stats. It multiplies them by 20. A secret his old crew was totally clueless about. The warrior is just staring at his own hand, stunned by what he just pulled off. Desmond just sighs, totally drained, while the others are freaking out celebrating their insane win against a way tougher enemy. Desmond's just thinking about how he tried like a million times to explain his real power, but they never listened. While he's spacing out, the warrior he just saved comes over to say thanks. The white-haired mage is also checking him out, totally curious about the mystery enchanter in the distance. She's wondering if the guy who saved them is like the famous Desmond. So back in the city, Desmond's staring at this board packed with guild missions. He sighs, knowing if he wants to keep hitting up dungeons, he's gonna need a new squad. Guess this is his life now. He braces himself for the super annoying task of finding a new clan. The world's literally crawling with dungeons and ancient ruins just waiting to be explored, full of old secrets and epic loot. That's just how the game is played. Adventurers risk it all for cash and to level up. Desmond knows he can't go dungeon crawling solo. He totally needs a team. But then he checks his own stats and yikes, he realizes no one's gonna want him. His enchanter class gives him like no strength and a big fat 0 for intelligence points. This whole mess means he can only use the most basic spells, a huge L he's never gotten past. While he's moping, some person in armor stops right in front of him. A girl's voice asks if he's looking for a new clan to join. Desmond's like, yeah, actually, and admits he just got kicked out of his last one. The girl gets totally mad, calling out his old team for being so blind they couldn't see his talent. Her sticking up for him like that leaves Desmond totally shook and at a loss for words. When he looks up, he recognizes the famous adventurer, Cynthia the mage, that he just saved. Cynthia gives him this smile like she knows him, and it turns out they go way back. A flashback shows their childhood friends, and Desmond is shocked that it's been 3 whole years since they left home. They're both smiling, remembering the old days, totally confirming their BFF status. Then something shiny on Cynthia's clothes catches Desmond's eye. He's like, no way. It's an S-rank ID plate, the highest rank you can get. He's so hyped for her, telling her that almost nobody in the entire world ever hits that prestigious rank. The whole ranking system proves S-rank is the absolute top, only for the best of the best. Desmond gives her a real smile and says how proud he is of his childhood friend. His compliment makes her totally blush, and she shyly admits that hearing him say that makes her super happy. Cynthia's reaction completely catches Desmond off guard, making him all flustered and awkward. Desmond blushes too, thinking about how gorgeous Cynthia is now, and remembers she's 2 years older than him. He remembers the real reason he even became an adventurer was to be good enough for her. A flashback shows a promise they made as kids to clear an S-rank dungeon together. But like Desmond figures, she's totally forgotten about that promise by now, and he feels kinda lame for still holding on to it. All of a sudden, they look over at the walls when Cynthia brings up the name Espetada. She tells him Espetada is that super famous rookie team. Everyone's been hyping up the one that's already crushed a bunch of B-rank dungeons. Cynthia smiles and tells him that the only reason that clan was so successful was because he was on the team. Desmond is completely thrown by what she said, like what is she even talking about? She's dead serious, saying his enchantments were always the absolute best. This shocks Desmond, who thought his real power was a total secret. He blushes so happy that she of all people saw his true talent. So then Cynthia's like, we should totally team up now that you're free. Blushing like crazy, Cynthia officially asks Desmond to join her clan. He's stunned by the offer, and she gets all excited, telling him the tryout is literally tomorrow. She gets closer, super confident, and tells him she knows he'll crush the test, no doubt about it. The whole idea of a tryout gets stuck in Desmond's head, and he's actually thinking about it, even though he's pretty sure a D rank like him can't pass. But the idea of joining Cynthia's clan gets him pumped. He smiles and is like, okay, I'm in, which totally surprises her but also makes her super happy. Cynthia is so psyched, she's like, let's go sign up right now, and doesn't even give him a second to think. She just grabs his hand and starts pulling him through the city. And even though he's not ready for this at all, her excitement is kinda contagious, and he can't help but smile. But then his smile disappears, and he gets all nervous, asking where they're rushing off to. Cynthia stops, looking a little embarrassed, he asked. She kinda sheepishly tells him her clan's name is Chevalier Garden. Desmond's face goes completely white because he knows that name way, way better than she thinks. Turns out Chevalier Garden is the biggest and baddest clan in all of Bristol. And not just that, it's the group with the most adventurers in the whole world, and they're about to get even bigger. An S-rank dungeon. The clan was huge, and Desmond totally freaked, trying to bail. But Cynthia wasn't having it. She grabbed his hand like super tight so he couldn't bolt. She called him Des, his old nickname, just to get him to look at her. Then she leaned in real close and whispered it was time to make good on that promise they made when they were kids. Her words and just how close she was left Desmond a blushing mess, totally frozen. That word promise was just bouncing around in his head, making it hard to breathe. A flashback hit him. Yep, Cynthia definitely hadn't forgotten. Their deal to take down an S-rank dungeon together. Desmond's heart was pounding, his face on fire, because he knew she still cared about their promise. But then total panic mode kicked in when he realized just how insane this whole thing was. Even though he was freaking out, Cynthia just dragged him toward the clan's massive fortress, acting like he was a shoo-in. Finally, the day of the entrance exam rolled around at the totally epic Chevalier Garden headquarters. He signed in and they handed him the number 55 and told him to hang tight. Desmond nervously took the tag, feeling like he stuck out like a sore thumb. Stepping inside, his jaw dropped. The place was seriously decked out like an actual castle. He checked out the huge crowd of applicants and realized the competition. To get into the top clan was going to be insane. Clutching his number, Desmond couldn't get over the fact that Cynthia was part of a clan this legit. Turns out the test was all about teaming up in groups of 4 to take out 10 goblins in a D-rank dungeon. He thought it sounded pretty basic, but he couldn't help but wonder if Cynthia would show up. Then all of a sudden, a voice boomed out announcing the start of the event, and every single applicant went quiet. All eyes shot up to a figure standing tall on a balcony high above. A woman with glasses spoke up, saying they were about to hear from Cynthia McDonald and the commander of the 1st Brigade. The other applicants started buzzing with excitement, but Desmond was just like, "Wait, what did she just say?" His face totally twisted up in disbelief as he tried to process that. The news just completely short-circuited his brain. He could not wrap his head around it. A quick look at the clan structure showed that Cynthia wasn't just **. The clan, she was the commander of the 1st Brigade, the most elite squad with only 5 people. Yeah, the 1st Brigade was made up of just 5 members. The baddest hand-picked adventurers on the planet. Desmond literally couldn't look away from Cynthia standing up there on the balcony looking so serious in her shining armor. She had the total vibe of a real commander, and the other applicants were just staring at her completely starstruck. Desmond was still blushing and totally lost. She started talking to the crowd, thanking them for showing up, and telling them to give it everything they had in the test. Her speech totally pumped everyone up, and the whole room erupted with cheers. But in the middle of all that hype, Desmond was just frozen, his brain glitching as he tried to deal with his friend's new status. His mind was a total blank trying to square the girl he grew up with and the leader standing in front of him. After the speech, everyone started moving around the massive hall getting ready for the exam to kick off. He overheard some other applicants totally fangirling over Cynthia dreaming about getting into her elite brigade. And even though he was happy for her, Desmond felt like her success was something out of a movie. The massive gap between them made him feel super alone until a voice he knew snapped him out of it. Out of nowhere, Cynthia was right in front of him, her face hidden by a hood, thanking him for being there. Desmond totally freaked when he realized it was her, like, "The commander is talking to **me*." Her just showing up like that left all the other applicants around them completely shook. The crowd started buzzing, realizing that Cynthia herself was right there with them. Everyone was looking at Desmond like, "Who's this guy?" While she explained that she just had to come down and see him. Then, shocking everyone, she leaned in and gave him a quick kiss on the cheek, wishing him good luck. Totally red, and at a loss for words, he barely choked out a thanks as she walked off. Desmond just stood there frozen, trying to process that the commander of the strongest clan came down just for him. Suddenly filled with this crazy new determination, Desmond gripped his staff, totally ready to go all out so he could join Cynthia's clan. He started walking toward the testing area with a new swagger. Then boom, this blonde girl yells and stops him in his tracks, catching him totally off guard. She asked if he was number 55. While he was still trying to figure out what was happening, he saw something that blew his mind. The girl showed him her tag. She had the exact same number. It hit Desmond then. Fate or whatever had just put them on the same team for the exam. The super energetic sword fighter introduced herself as Ren, a frontline attacker who was totally ready to go. Right as Desmond was about to say something back, another person walked up, finishing their squad. A chill elf mage named Dorothy introduced herself, and flashed her tag in number 55 too. Dorothy's voice was so quiet and soft it left him speechless. He could barely get a word out. Then this massive figure stepped in front of them, cutting off the intros. A buff-looking dwarf introduced himself as Garen the Shield-Bearer and the 4th member of Team 55. Totally overwhelmed by all this, Desmond barely managed to stutter out his own name. Ren gave him a super hyped welcome, while Desmond told them to just call him Des. Their new team was led to the entrance of a creepy-looking dungeon that was shaped like a skull. An examiner tells them the super creepy skull dungeon is where they'll be tested. The mission's a total cakewalk, take out 10 goblins or bail. Desmond, trying to be the smart one, starts breaking it down, warning them that even though it's just a D rank, they still have to be careful, but they totally blow him off. Ren just yeets herself into the fight with like a ton of energy. Desmond is desperately trying to stop her, freaking out that her recklessness is going to get them all wiped. The second he steps inside, he hears other hopefuls whispering that their squad is a total joke and has 0 chance. Desmond realizes that even though the teams are supposed to be random, something feels super off. Then he discovers the horrible truth. Team 55 is literally known for being the biggest train wreck in the exam's history. The news just hits him like a truck, leaving him completely horrified by his garbage luck as he watches Ren get all hyped over a mushroom. Desmond's hope of passing just evaporates, and as they head deeper, he wonders if he's cursed to be stuck with the worst teammates forever. This huge, gnarly skull dungeon looms in front of them, all ready to put their hot mess of a team to the test. Turns out this place used to be a B-rank dungeon, but it got seriously nerfed after its core got destroyed. Now it's just a D-rank spot filled with nothing but weak mobs like goblins. Desmond starts having flashbacks to his high-level dungeon days where even when they won, he always got completely ripped off when it came to the loot. He wonders when exactly his old crew started treating him like trash. Thinking about it, he literally can't remember one single good thing about his old clan. He looks over at his quirky new teammates and wonders why everyone calls them the worst team in history. He's kinda nervous, but he decides to go talk to them, really hoping they aren't as bad as people say. Then out of nowhere, Ren full-on tackles him with a super extra and painful greeting that knocks him flat. She just sits on him, thinking his totally panicked face means he's hungry and worried, and she tries to cheer him up. Ren offers him her own snack like it's some kind of treasure. She's hyping it up, saying how amazing it tastes, even though Desmond hasn't even had a bite. Defeated Desmond takes a piece of the bread. 'Cause like, what else is he supposed to do? But to his shock, it's so good he's actually speechless, completely blown away. Then a sucky memory flashes back of his old team treating him like a servant, always making demands and calling him useless. But here he is actually enjoying a snack, realizing that with his old clan he never even got a moment to eat. Dorothy shyly comes over to offer him some water, and Garand seems genuinely concerned about him too. Desmond is so touched by them actually being nice that he thanks them, his eyes getting all misty. A small smile creeps onto his face as he thinks that maybe, just maybe, they aren't the total losers the rumors made them out to be. Feeling a new wave of curiosity, he asks his teammates why they even wanted to take the exam. Ren pipes up with her usual over-the-top energy, explaining that she's the third daughter of some noble family from the middle of nowhere. She admits her big dream was always to be an adventurer, but her parents just wanted to marry her off. So now, she's dead set on becoming the best adventurer in the world to prove her dream wasn't stupid. Intrigued, Desmond turns to Garand and asks why he went with being a shield-bearer. The dwarf just drops a simple truth about his whole protector gig. Garand says all noble-like that he doesn't need a reason to protect people, which leaves Desmond seriously impressed by his good guy vibes. Realizing his teammates are actually decent, Desmond turns to ask Dorothy what her story is. She shyly explains she wants to pass the exam to pay back her adoptive parents from the super prestigious Chevalier Garden for being so kind to her. Desmond's compliment totally makes her freak out, and she hides her face, all embarrassed, feeling like she doesn't deserve it. A real smile finally shows up on Desmond's face when he figures out who his teammates really are. He decides that the whole worst team thing must be a huge mistake because they're all kind and genuinely good people. Then in a moment of total cringe, he admits to himself that his reason for being here just to impress Cynthia is the lamest motive of them all. Still, he grips his staff with a fresh sense of purpose, ready to take on whatever comes next. The team huddles up, and Desmond gives them a little pep talk to get them all on the same page. Feeling super confident he's ready to ace this for Cynthia when Garand randomly points out that he has some dirt on his shoulder. Desmond thanks Garand, but then the dwarf suddenly grabs his chest in pain. Without any warning, Garand just collapses and lies there completely still. Thinking it's a joke, Desmond just laughs and tells him to stop being so extra. But the dwarf doesn't get up, and a wave of concern starts to spread through the team. Panic starts to set in when Garand doesn't respond, and they're all wondering if this is some kind of sick joke. Ren screams in terror that the dwarf isn't breathing, which makes Desmond freak out and yell for a potion. All of a sudden, a huge laugh booms from the ground, revealing the prank. Garand hops up, roaring with laughter and apologizing for the joke, while Ren scolds him that they don't have a lot of potions. Desmond, totally floored, asks him if he just collapses like that all the time. The awful truth slams into him when he realizes his teammate has a seriously major problem. To get the full picture, Desmond activates his Appraisal Eye skill. He finds out that Ren, the swordswoman, has such a low strength stat that she could barely take down a single goblin. Then he checks out Garand the tank and sees his vitality is so laughably low that one solid hit could probably take him out for good. Dorothy sees his horrified face and worriedly asks if something's wrong. Hoping for at least one good thing, Desmond turns his gaze to the team's mage. So when he checks out Dorothy, her intelligence is totally maxed out, meaning she can unleash some wicked attack magic. Desmond's hyped, but she just panics, saying that casting a spell would literally finish her. She admits, all embarrassed, that her mana is so pathetic, she can only cast one spell a day. The brutal truth hits him, and he forces this smile while he's basically crumbling on the inside. His worst fears are totally confirmed when he sees Dorothy's mana is a measly 8 points, basically nothing. Desmond finally gets the true horrifying meaning of the nickname. The worst team in history. His squad is literally an attacker who can't beat a single enemy, a tank who gets knocked out in one hit, and a mage who's on a one-spell-a-day plan. He bitterly figures that he, with his basic level magic, is also one of the worst. He's totally panicking, thinking that if he doesn't power them all up, they won't just fail, they'll get completely wiped. Just then, Ren picks up on the super creepy presence of a whole horde of goblins. Desmond's desperate, yelling at them to hold still so he can cast his enchantments. But Ren, totally ignoring him, just charges straight into the fight. Thinking the first strike is a guaranteed win, she clashes swords with a goblin, starting the battle with 0 magic buffs. Ren's attack is completely useless, and the goblin just smacks her down effortlessly, proving her strength stat is a ridiculous 6 points. Still on the floor, she acts like everything's under control while Desmond is just regretting his whole life for attacking without any magic backup. A single goblin uses the chaos to charge straight for Desmond, who hears a shout and desperately tries to cast a spell. His eyes are locked on the threat, barreling right toward him. True to his word, Garand dives in to protect him, but he gets taken down by one simple hit from the goblin. Totally exasperated, Desmond lays into the fallen dwarf, who's just sprawled on the ground looking totally dazed. Forced to use a potion, he rips into Garon for folding mid-battle and questions if he's even cut out to be a tank. But then Garon strikes a triumphant pose, and Garen declares he's all about protecting others, leaving Desmond just speechless, holding the empty bottle. Desmond warns them there's only one potion left, and the dwarf just gives him a casual thumbs up. But that confident vibe lasts about 2 seconds before Garon gets knocked down again, leaving Desmond totally crushed with a pained smile. That's when Desmond realizes they are completely out of healing potions. Total panic sets in, as he remembers they have no healer, and that just one more hit could be the end of them. Then out of nowhere, Ren jumps between him and a goblin, shoving him aside to take the hit herself. Desmond's eyes go wide in horror watching his teammate make the sacrifice play. He kneels by her side, super worried while she's trying to brush it off like it was nothing, even with the insane danger. He grabs her totally frustrated, reminding her she's supposed to be the damage dealer, not a reckless defender. She just gives him a shy smile and admits that he's right. But then she says with total conviction that she can't just stand there and watch her friends get attacked. Her words just leave him stunned, totally moved by her unexpected loyalty. In spite of everything, he asks what's going to happen if her weak sauce defense gets her knocked out of the fight. Desmond reminds her about her dream of becoming the greatest adventurer, but she seems to hesitate. She reveals that above all else, keeping her friends safe is her #1 priority. Ren's words leave him completely floored, deeply moved by her insane loyalty. The moment is shattered when Dorothy shouts in a panic that 7 more goblins just showed up. Garon steps up, ordering the team to get behind him for safety. Desmond desperately screams at him, reminding him they're out of potions, and the next hit will be the last one. The dwarf turns around with this totally determined look, which catches a worried Desmond's eye. You can see Desmond is a mix of confused and scared by the dwarf's whole vibe. Garen admits he's weak, but declares he doesn't care if he goes down as long as he's protecting his friends. With a grim smile, he says he's ready to be a human shield no matter the cost. The dwarf's big speech is cut short when Dorothy shyly turns to Desmond. She reminds him she can only cast 1 spell, clutching her staff all nervously. Her 1 attack won't be nearly enough to take out 7 goblins, let alone the 10 they need to actually pass. Still, she offers to sacrifice her shot at passing to save them, but Desmond shuts her down flat. He reminds her of her promise to pass the exam for her adoptive parents, trying to get her to back down. But despite what he says, Dorothy's hand just grips her staff even tighter, showing she's made up her mind. With a totally determined look, she declares that passing the exam by bailing on her friends would be completely meaningless. Her words really hit Desmond, who just watches her moved by her insane loyalty. He just can't wrap his head around why everyone is willing to sacrifice themselves for a team they literally just met. The ride-or-die vibe of his teammates leaves him completely baffled and speechless. His teammates all look at him united with this unbreakable resolve, striking a heroic pose as they tell him that time means nothing when you're building a real friendship. Their words hit him hard, leaving him breathless, and he's just completely overwhelmed with emotion. A single tear escapes his eye. The goblin horde charges, but Ren looks weirdly hyped for the fight. The dwarf braces for impact, his face totally strained as his teammates scream in terror, seeing he's about to get swamped. Garen takes the full brutal hit from the horde, bracing himself for the end. But then a crazy water shield just pops up out of nowhere, protecting him and blasting the goblin's back. The dwarf looks around totally bug-eyed with no clue where that power came from. The water shield didn't just block them, it straight up shoved the entire goblin mob away. Garen's mind is blown, wondering if he somehow pulled that off all on his own. But he knows that's not it. Realizing the power isn't his, the whole squad whips around and sees the magic is pouring off of Desmond, who's glowing with this sick green aura. With his eyes shut, Desmond is totally in the zone, channeling his power like it's nothing. When he opens them, his look is super intense and clear, way different than before. He's made up his mind. He gets it now. The real prize is acing this test with his new crew. He knows this bond is something he couldn't build with his old team in a whole year. Stepping up, he tells them to trust him and just follow his lead to lock in the win. Letting his power rip, he declares with total confidence that they're all gonna pass this thing together. With a new fire in his eyes, he promises them that if they stick to his plan, they've got this in the bag. He turns to a totally shocked Dorothy and tells her dead serious to get her spell ready. She's hesitant, reminding him she's only got 1 shot left and using it now means she fails for sure. But the memory of Desmond's determined face asking her to trust him makes her rethink everything. Dorothy clutches her staff, makes up her mind, and is like, okay, I'm in. The mage starts powering up while Desmond gets ready to call the next play. He tells Ren and Garen to stall for time so Dorothy can finish her chant. Ren can't believe it when Desmond puts her on point, telling her to handle all the enemies coming from the front. She's floored he wants her to face the goblin mob alone, as they come charging right at them. Desmond just gives her this super serious look, putting all his faith in her. Instead of hesitating, a huge wild grin spreads across Ren's face. Totally hyped for the challenge, she charges to the front lines to meet the horde head-on. A couple of goblins jump her, swinging their clubs to take her out. With a look of pure defiance, she basically tells them, "You're not getting past me." Her sword becomes a blur of light, slamming into the first enemy with insane force. She becomes a total whirlwind of steel, just mowing down every goblin in her way. And with one final move, the warrior freezes for a sec, genuinely shocked by how powerful her own attack was. The goblins get thrown back and taken out, completely unable to handle her blade. Ren just stares completely amazed at what she just did. As the dust settles, she realizes Desmond's aura totally amped up her power, letting her do something that should have been impossible. It turns out Desmond was using enchantment magic to juice up his teammate's strength. Meanwhile, more goblins are creeping up from behind about to jump Garen. Desmond tells the dwarf to just focus on holding the backline no matter what. To give him a hand, he juices him up with his magic again, boosting the dwarf's strength and stamina. The dwarf gets it. His job is simple: protect Dorothy at all costs while she preps her spell. Feeling the boost from Desmond's magic, Garen throws up his shield and stops the goblin charge cold. The dwarf grinds his teeth, holding back the creature's attack with everything he's got. Dorothy watches worried as Garen literally becomes a living wall to protect her. Her worry turns into this icy resolve. Seeing her teammate go all out with so much conviction, Dorothy unleashes her own power, ready to drop her one and only nuke of a spell. Desmond gives Dorothy a new command, pointing to a tunnel on the right side of the cave. As she stares into the dark passage, he tells her he's gonna amp up her magic and to fire her spell with everything she's got right into that opening, leaving her totally confused. Desmond fires up his enchantment, cranking up the mage's brainpower and focus. Dorothy's water magic gets a massive upgrade, increasing its power, making it sharper and letting it last way longer. The mage is totally overwhelmed by the insane amount of energy now flowing through her, feeling like it's about to go wild. But even with the panic, she feels this awesome rush. As she feels this amazing power, Desmond comes up from behind her and puts his hand over hers on the staff to help her control it all. He just calmly tells her to trust him and let him guide the spell. Being so close to him, plus all that insane power, leaves Dorothy blushing like crazy and totally speechless. The mage is so flustered she can't even get a single word out. Working together, they blast out a massive supercharged water bullet and aim it straight for the dark tunnel. Desmond calmly explains his plan was to wipe out the enemies hiding in the next room. He reveals that he used his super smell to sniff out more than 10 goblins in that area. The magic missile just rips through the passage, totally catching the goblins on the other side off guard. The creatures don't even have time to blink as the attack barrels toward them from down the hall. The spell hits like a bomb, making sure they've definitely taken out more than enough bad guys. Desmond gives a satisfied nod, confirming they've hit their goblin quota to pass the test. They both stare down the tunnel, which is now lit up and showing off the aftermath of their insane attack. But then a single drop of cold sweat trickles down Desmond's forehead as he realizes he made a huge mistake. He realizes he juiced up Dorothy's spell way too much, creating a force that's completely out of control. The power that just went off was insane, like it literally blew the whole exam cave to bits. Next thing they know, the team is standing outside in the middle of a pile of rocks that used to be the dungeon. Garand is still like floating from the spell and is all, "My bad, I guess I got a little too hyped about having new friends." Desmond is totally freaking out, thinking they're gonna get booted for wrecking the whole test site. But then out of nowhere, one of the examiners pops up looking super nervous and tells them to chill. And then get this, the guy announces that even though they caused a total disaster, they actually passed the exam. The examiner, who's like sweating buckets, confirms they were the fastest team to ever finish, and Desmond is just completely shook. Even with all the damage, the dude hands Desmond a slip of paper proving they passed the challenge. The guy is gushing over Desmond, totally floored that some D-rank adventurer has that kind of crazy magic. Holding the pass certificate, Desmond can finally breathe while his teammates are just going wild celebrating. Behind him. So their next stop is this massive fortress thing, which is basically the Adventurers Guild HQ. Once they get inside, they're handed their official member cards, congratulating them on acing the test. Some guild worker officially welcomes them to the Knight's Garden and is all like, "Go get 'em." The whole crew huddles up to check out their new cards, marking the official start of their new life as a team. Ren just can't hold it in anymore and totally loses it, celebrating like crazy. She's so grateful that she just launches herself into a hug with Desmond, who had absolutely no idea it was coming, telling him it's all thanks to him that they made it. But their happy little moment gets cut short when they make eye contact with that snobby team that was dissing them before the exam. The whole vibe in the hall just flips, and it gets all quiet with people whispering and giving them shady looks. A bead of sweat drips down Desmond's forehead as he realizes the stares they're getting aren't the good kind, but something way creepier. The whispers totally confirm it. They're the team that smoked the exam in record time. Everyone is bugging out because they were known for being like the absolute worst team there. The rumors about Desmond's power start getting blown way out of proportion, but he doesn't seem to care. Ren is beaming with pride and tells him the whole team should be stoked about their leader being famous, giving him a playful fist bump on the chest. She's like, "Dude, just own it, you earned it." Garand jumps in, agreeing that Desmond's insane enchantment magic was legit the reason they won. Desmond is actually touched by what the dwarf said and gives him a real thanks for the backup. But then the young enchanter tightens his grip on his staff, getting ready to brush off all the compliments. He plays it cool, explaining he's just a support class and that they only won 'cause of teamwork. He looks over at his crew, giving them all the credit for their trust and hard work. Ren is just staring at him, totally blushing and feeling all the feels by how humble he is. She's so overcome with emotion that she randomly proposes to him, which leaves Desmond completely stunned. But yeah, the party vibes come to a screeching halt right then and there. Desmond has to remind everyone that their team up was just a temp thing, and now they gotta split. The news is a total bummer for Dorothy, and Desmond can't even look his teammates in the eye. Ren and Garand are just quiet, trying to wrap their heads around the fact that the team is over. Dorothy tries to play it cool, saying they'll all just have to find new teams now, but her tough act totally falls apart, and she can't hide how sad she is about them splitting up. Getting all emotional, she says she'll never forget this team, admitting it was the best one she's ever been a part of. Ren cuts into the super emo goodbye, whipping out her guild card, and pointing out this one major detail everyone totally missed. The rest of the team checks their cards, and like no way they see Ren was right. Turns out the guild registered them as an official team, so they're stuck together whether they knew it or not. All that awkward goodbye tension just melts away, and is replaced by everyone being super happy. Realizing their official team status means they don't have to split up. The group does a whole reintroduction thing, locking in their bond with a fresh wave of excitement and pure joy. Ren immediately jumps in and suggests they celebrate being a real team. Her idea for a victory party with some drinks gets an instant heck yeah from Garand, and the hype spreads to everyone. Desmond hesitates for a sec, thinking he should tell Cynthia. But then he sees his new crew already heading out all pumped up. He drops the idea when he remembers his new low rank means he can't just hit up a top-tier examiner like her. The thought of not being able to see her again hits him with this unexpected wave of loneliness. Leaving the guild in the dust, the team heads downtown to get their totally deserved party started. They roll up to this super busy tavern, which is like the perfect spot for their first official celebration. The place is jam-packed with adventurers, but they manage to snag a table to get the party going. With frothy mugs of beer raised in the air, they get ready for the toast to make their victory official. Everyone smashes their mugs together, celebrating not just passing the exam, but the fact that they're a team for real now. Desmond watches his new friends with a real smile on his face. He's finally feeling like he belongs. Ren catches his eye and gives him a sly little grin, totally vibing with the party and the crew. Even Garand and Dorothy, who are normally the more serious ones, are getting swept up in the good vibes. Then all of a sudden, this hooded figure slides up to their table with a smirk, holding their own mug. This random person showing up totally kills the mood, leaving Desmond and Ren completely confused. The team tries to be nice and explain to the party crasher that this is kind of a private thing. Totally starts sweating bullets when he recognizes a familiar face under the hood. He can't believe his eyes and realizes the mystery person is legit the examiner Cynthia. The reveal has Dorothy and Ren totally shook, like they can't even process the surprise. Even though Cynthia tries to deny it, the whole crew knows it's her, and the table erupts. A completely scandalized Dorothy asks Desmond how he's being so casual with someone so important. The examiner gives them a major death glare, obviously not loving all the attention. With a totally over it sigh, she apologizes for just crashing their party out of nowhere. Cynthia admits she's known Desmond since they were kids, and just wanted to say congrats in person. The charming guy starts blushing, super touched by his childhood friend's gesture. Dorothy freaks out when she learns they know each other, quickly trying to say there's no misunderstanding. Cynthia makes it clear that Desmond passed on his own skills without any special treatment because they're friends. Dorothy's still surprised, nods like crazy, confirming they all know their leader earned it. Ren gives Desmond a huge happy hug from behind, declaring that they're the ones who really know how crazy powerful he is. Ren, being so close and using a cute nickname, unleashes the jealousy of a completely flustered Cynthia. Dorothy tries to calm things down, asking the examiner to just chill and drop the formal stuff. But even with Dorothy's words, Cynthia just clings to Desmond's clothes. Unable to hide how worked up she is, the examiner gets right up in Desmond's personal space, grilling him about Ren with a super tense smile. Ren claps back, defending their bond by arguing that risking their lives together gives them a connection no one else could have. A full-on rivalry just explodes between Cynthia and Ren, who are now battling for a totally overwhelmed Desmond's attention. Meanwhile, Garen is completely ignoring the drama, focused only on getting more food for the party. Garen, fork and knife in hand, is grinning as more food arrives, completely clueless about the tension. Outside the tavern, the night is peaceful, but inside the party vibe has been totally wrecked. The whole celebration grinds to a halt as the beef between the two girls gets even more intense. Ren makes the first move, offering Desmond a flirty little bite to try and win him over. Cynthia is not about to be shown up, and she pushes a spoonful from her own plate at Desmond, talking about how amazing it tastes. Caught in the middle, Desmond can only manage a super nervous smile, literally sweating from the pressure. The poor guy is frozen solid as Ren and Cynthia compete to be the first to feed him. The fight escalates into a debate over which food is better for him, making Desmond even more stressed. Dorothy steps in, telling the two rivals that they're totally overwhelming their leader. Her solution, though, is to suggest milk for his fatigue, which is a completely unhelpful idea. Garen breaks the awkward silence by praising the pasta, while Desmond can only choke out a forced compliment. The guy politely tries to turn them down, explaining with a shaky smile that he can feed himself. But Ren and Cynthia totally box him in, demanding that he choose one of them. The rivalry gets even crazier, with Cynthia playing the childhood friend card and Ren playing the teammate bond card. Desmond's innocent question about whether he's supposed to choose the food is completely misinterpreted by a blushing Ren. The girl seems totally down for his supposed bold move, forcing Desmond to remind her they were just talking about food. The mix-up spreads to Cynthia, who's now also blushing at her friend's so-called game. The examiner turns beet red, secretly wishing he was being that bold with her. Totally fed up with him not choosing Cynthia, slams her gauntlet down on the table, declaring that this can't keep going. The two girls decide to settle this once and for all, while Desmond just wants to eat whatever he wants. Both girls are daydreaming about winning, each one convinced her dish is the best for Desmond. Meanwhile, Garen is still in his own little food paradise, stacking up a mountain of empty plates. Ren, with like endless energy, orders even more food, determined not to fail her mission to feed their leader. Suddenly, Garen's tower of plates starts to wobble like crazy, about to topple all over the table. Desmond yells a warning, seeing the epic disaster that's about to happen. Ren and Cynthia both look at Desmond, expecting him to be their hero and save them from the chaos. The food from the falling plates goes flying right onto Cynthia, ruining her whole vibe and her serious expression. Ren doesn't escape the disaster either, getting completely covered in food with the look of total disbelief. To their complete shock, Desmond doesn't save them, but instead dives to save Garen from getting hit. The team leader tries to explain why with a nervous smile, facing down the daggers being stared at him by his two admirers. Desmond's excuse for saving Garen only makes the two food-covered defeated girls even angrier. Ren and Cynthia both decide Garen is the real bad guy in this whole mess. Then out of nowhere, the rivalry does a 180 as Ren goes to Cynthia with a new idea. Both girls ditch their differences and decide to just get wasted together, forming the most unexpected team-up ever. The celebration that started as a congrats for Desmond turns into a completely wild party. Ren, totally trashed, is having the absolute time of her life with a contagious laugh and a super flushed face. At the end of the night, a sober Garen is carrying a passed-out Ren, while Dorothy tries to keep some control. Meanwhile, Desmond is walking Cynthia home, thanking her for joining their totally wild party. Dorothy thinks back on the night, realizing it's the first time she's actually partied with her teammates. Desmond, with a real smile, tells her he's seriously happy and grateful Cynthia was there. Cynthia, blushing a little, confesses she's stoked she came to the party. The young woman adds that she's psyched they get to be in the same clan. Desmond laughs, reminding her that their brigades are like super far apart. Totally sure of herself, Cynthia assures an embarrassed Desmond that he'll climb to the first brigade in no time, though he figures she's just hyping him up. She gives him this look like, "No, I'm for real," to show she means it. The examiner cracks a smile and admits that after everything, she's glad they're her crew. The scene cuts to a totally wasted Ren hanging all over Garen, which pretty much sums up what kind of awesome teammates they are. Desmond, with an awkward smile, promises he'll try to get Ren to chill out around his superior. Cynthia admits that while partying with everyone was fun, she had something else in mind. With a super intense look, she drops the bomb that she really wants to celebrate alone with him. Desmond is totally floored by her proposal, but Cynthia instantly takes it back, acting like she didn't say a thing. With a killer smile under the moonlight, she tells him that from now on, she'll be counting on him for real. Immediately, she gets all red and flustered and can barely even get Desmond's name out. The young man, turning just as red, feels totally blown away, but like in a good way by his friend's confession. Desmond says it back, agreeing that he's counting on her too. As the night closes in around them, the sun comes up on a new day in the city, kicking off a whole new chapter. First stop, an alchemy shop, which is like super important for getting ready. The inside of the shop is jam-packed with potions of every color, and the whole team is pretty blown away by the collection. Dorothy rattles off all the essential stuff they need, from healing potions to antidotes. They get ready, all super pumped and determined to be prepped for their first real mission as a team. Desmond cuts in while they're shopping, randomly asking about a logistics thing. The young man is just like, "Hey, should we split the cost for all this stuff between us?" Dorothy just smiles and explains that the clan's got it all covered, which totally shocks Desmond. He thinks back kinda bitter about his time in Apatata, where he had to shell out for everything himself. The clan being so generous gets him fired up, and he can feel how much everyone's counting on him. After totally stocking up, the team walks out of the shop loaded with potions and ready to go. Once they're back on the street, Desmond can't stop thinking about his old partner Adele and wondering what he's up to. Their mission leads them to the north side of Bristol, to the mouth of this seriously creepy dungeon. It's the C-rank dungeon Greenbites, just this huge hole plunging straight down into the earth. Meanwhile, deep down inside, a totally wiped Adele is basically fighting for his life. His female teammate is just staring at him, a mix of disbelief and major concern on her face. His other partner, the party's tank, is also sweating bullets under all the pressure, and he can't even hold the line against the enemies. A whole mob of goblins has them pinned, and they're way more vicious than they're supposed to be. Adele, covered in sweat and cuts, hates how totally useless he is in this mess. The young man can't figure out why his so-called pro team is getting wrecked this easily. He's getting so pissed seeing that they can't even take down what are supposed to be basic-level goblins. One of the things lunges right for him, about to finish him off. With a last-ditch move, Adele manages to block the attack with his sword. But the hit is just too much, and sends him flying hard through the air. His teammates scream his name, totally horrified, as they watch their leader get taken down. The redhead mage is trapped by the goblins, completely frozen with fear. Desperate, she yells at the tank to protect her, reminding him that's like his whole job as the team's shield. It all just falls apart as the team starts fighting, pointing fingers at each other for their mess up. The mage admits she's locked up and can't cast, while Adele just watches them argue from the floor. Helpless looking, completely fed up, Adele just curses his whole situation and his team's incompetence. Taking charge, the young man yells for them to bail now, using a teleport scroll. Now they're safe outside the dungeon and the whole team is just collapsed on the ground, totally gassed from getting away. Adele is livid. He can't believe a crew this good got trashed by the lamest monsters. The tank suggests maybe they went into the wrong dungeon, but the healer shuts him down with some cold, hard facts. The young woman says maybe they're just having an off day, but you can tell from her face she thinks it's something else. The healer looks at her party, questioning if all the hype about their strength was just a bunch of talk. Adele totally loses it, blaming the girl for her buff magic completely failing and getting them defeated. The healer reacts with total disbelief and anger at her leader's accusation. She fires back, throwing the blame right back in his face and calling out how useless the rest of the team was during the fight. The young woman points out that the tank couldn't hold the line for a second, totally exposing how weak he was. She doesn't stop there, mentioning how the mage barely got off a few baby spells before she was toast. With a total sneer, she reminds Adele that he got wrecked by one single goblin. The healer straight up mocks them, declaring that it's pathetic that the famous party sword is so weak. That girl's words totally hit Adele where it hurts, and he's like seething with rage. He just snaps, grabs her by the neck, and is all like, "You're fired, get out!" The healer's struggling to get free, barely able to ask him to stop. But Adele, totally lost in his rage, just ignores her and won't let go. Then with a super quick move of her staff, she just whacks him and sends him flying. The so-called party leader eats dirt like a full-on crash landing. Totally stunned and humiliated, Adele lifts his head, like he can't believe he got owned that easily. The other two teammates just watch, totally frozen in shock, while the healer gives him this cheeky little smile, playing dumb about why he's so mad. She starts mocking him, calling him out for not even trying to block. With a look like he's something she'd scrape off her shoe, she hits him with one single word: weak. That final burn makes Adele's anger just explode, and his eyes literally glow with fury. The healer's like, "You don't have to fire me, I quit," totally dissing him. She announces that she refuses to work with such a pathetic group and tells them to never even think about finding her again. The girl just strolls away like it's nothing, leaving a totally shamed Adele and his stunned crew behind. Adele just grinds his teeth, silently cursing the whole situation and how freaking powerless he is. His frustration boils over, and he just punches the ground, his mind filled with all these thoughts about enchanters. With pure, unfiltered rage, he comes to the salty conclusion that all enchanters are a total pain. Meanwhile, the story cuts back to Desmond, who's standing in front of the massive Night Clan headquarters. The guy's eyes are sparkling, totally psyched about starting his first official mission. He's so pumped he promises himself his first gig with the clan is going to be a major win. He's already dreaming about climbing the ranks, hoping to one day get into the 1st Brigade. Just like Cynthia, Desmond meets up with his new squad, the 5th Brigade, all geared up for their first mission. The guy's wondering what their task is going to be, while the elf mage figures it's just some basic dungeon crawl. The blonde swordswoman, acting all high and mighty, suggests they just knock the mission out quick, but the mage warns her not to get cocky. Desmond just smiles, legit happy and excited to be working with his new super energetic team. The vibe is totally electric as the group gets ready to head into the briefing room for their assignment. But then the scene totally flips, showing two dudes looking super grim and tense. Elsewhere in the clan, a bunch of adventurers are having a massive argument, looking totally mad and frustrated. Back in the main hall, a huge crowd of clan members has shown up, and the whole place is pure chaos. Desmond and his teammates are just standing there, totally clueless about the drama that just exploded. The other adventurers are all whispering, and Desmond's team starts to realize that something super weird is going down in the clan. The swordswoman actually thinks they're all whispering about her awesome kill count. But then another adventurer sets her straight, saying people are pointing at him because he supposedly used his connections to get in. That reveal leaves Desmond and his team completely floored. A whole group of clan members is giving them the dirtiest looks. Pissed off by the new team's supposed cockiness, the rumors start flying, calling Desmond out as Cynthia's childhood friend. The elf mage gets dragged into it too, with whispers that she's also got a protector in the clan. All that jealousy turns into straight-up anger, and other adventurers start openly accusing them of cheating their way in. The angry mob closes in on Desmond's team, demanding they leave and calling them pathetic. Desmond tries to chill everyone out, denying everything and telling them it's all a big misunderstanding. Suddenly, a booming voice from a balcony up above orders the crowd to knock it off. The whole crowd whips around to the balcony, looking surprised and kinda annoyed. All the clan members just go silent from the sudden interruption. Desmond and his team, still totally on edge, watch the person who just stopped the chaos. Some messy-looking dude addresses the crowd, announcing that the 5th Brigade is here. The team is totally shocked to find out this guy is Brant, their new captain. Desmond can't believe his eyes, refusing to accept that this is their leader. Then, to their absolute horror, they realize their captain is completely wasted in the middle of the hall. The vice-captain tries to get a handle on Brant, who's swaying dangerously over the railing. Even though he's a total mess, the captain somehow pulls himself together just long enough to announce the day's mission. Their very first assignment is to explore the dangerous and frozen Ibral ice cave. Brant reveals that the main goal is to go get the Gem of Wisdom, a super rare item from the deepest part of the cave. The crowd starts murmuring like, no way, because they all know the gem is a B-rank item, which is way too dangerous for them. One adventurer protests, reminding everyone that the ice cave is a high-level dungeon and not something to mess with. Another clan member, absolutely furious, demands an explanation, while Desmond watches the whole thing go down, getting more worried by the second. Desmond is processing the whole situation, realizing that sending the 5th Brigade a bunch of D-rank rookies into a B-rank dungeon is basically a suicide mission. Panic starts to set in as the adventurers imagine themselves getting totally wiped out by the very first trap or monster they find. Even with his multiplication magic, Desmond is seriously doubting their chances, and gives his captain a nervous look. Brant, however, just has this weird, mysterious smile. He's all like, this is just how the clan rolls, you gotta get what being a Chevalier is all about. But his weird cryptic talk just leaves Desmond and everyone else totally clueless. Like they have no idea what he's even talking about. And seeing how massive the clan headquarters is, it just makes the captain's words hit way harder. It finally clicks for Desmond and the other adventurers. The clan just sees them as totally disposable. Up on the balcony, Captain Brant is just chilling, not caring at all. He tells them to quit freaking out. Then with this evil smirk, the captain gets ready to stir up even more trouble. Brant just straight up confirms their worst nightmare, admitting they're just backups. That bombshell makes the whole crowd absolutely lose it. They can't believe their leader would be so shameless. Desmond is just shook, trying to wrap his head around how messed up this huge organization really is. The guy just can't accept that the Cynthia clan, the place he thought he'd be forever, is this corrupt. The vibe gets super tense as the adventurers feel totally disrespected and get ready to throw down with their captain. Even with everyone raging around him, Desmond is just hoping things don't get any crazier. That's when Brant drops his master plan, explaining that they've rounded up 6 squads from the 5th Brigade for a total meat grinder mission. A chart lays out the whole strategy, basically use the 5th Brigade's massive numbers as bait. The captain then orders them to just shut up and follow whatever lead team gets picked, treating them like they're total garbage. You could feel the humiliation in the air, and the adventurers are struggling to keep their cool over how they're being treated. Right when Desmond's thinking, man, I would not want to be the leader right now, the captain announces that team number 55 is in charge. And you guessed it, the captain calls out Desmond's team, putting them right in the spotlight. Instantly, every other team is staring daggers at them, full of hate and jealousy. This whole move just screams favoritism, and the crowd is totally judging them for it. Up on his balcony, Captain Brant, completely clueless about the drama, just gives them a casual wave while sipping his drink. Then all of a sudden, everyone's eyes dart over to a pair of massive double doors that are about to swing open. Desmond, now the unlucky leader of this suicide mission, plasters on a fake smile as he and his team start to freak out. Then boom, the scene totally changes. And we're away from the clan's HQ. The squad pulls up to the entrance of the Mezbel Ice Cave, a place that looks as epic as it is deadly. Going over the mission deets, they confirm they're up against a B-rank dungeon, which is basically a super hard mission. The second they step inside, the temperature plummets for real, living up to its name. The ground is a solid sheet of ice, a solid reminder of how sketchy this place really is. Desmond and the elf mage are just in awe of how sick the dungeon looks as it opens up in front of them. Turns out, even though it looks all natural, the cave was actually built by some ancient civilization. The swordswoman gets this sly grin and reminds everyone to keep their eyes peeled for enemies. Then she realizes she's not even feeling cold, even though she can see her breath. Her buddy's totally shocked when Desmond proudly announces he cast a cold resistance spell on the whole crew. Desmond's teammates are floored to hear the spell will keep them warm and let them move around easily. He's all confident, explaining that it's just temporary, but it'll last long enough to get them through the whole dungeon. The swordswoman is seriously impressed, grabbing Desmond's arm and gushing about his insane magic skills. She hangs on him, joking that she wants him as her personal space heater since she hates the cold so much. Desmond gets a little flustered and reminds her they can't get distracted, because one wrong move could get them all wiped out. Out of nowhere, another adventurer wearing spiked boots stomps up to them looking super hostile. With no warning at all, the guy just kicks Desmond square in the back, sending him flying. Desmond eats it, face planting on the ice as his friend screams his name in terror. The swordswoman whips around, absolutely furious, and gets in the attacker's face, demanding to know what his problem is. The dude, just seething with frustration, accuses them of messing around. He says instead of taking the mission seriously, they're just another team that got ahead because they knew the right people. The swordswoman, still fuming, shuts that down immediately, but the guy isn't backing off. Desmond struggles up a big boot print on his back as the other dude accuses him of using his connections to snag the leader spot. Then the whole crowd starts piling on, yelling that they're not trusting their lives to a bunch of fakes, while Desmond is desperately trying to chill everyone out. His teammate is clearly so over all this drama. The swordswoman, totally done with this nonsense, just goes, "Fine, I'll show you what I can really do," leaving Desmond completely stunned. With a super confident, challenging look, she dares any of them to take her on so they can see what she's made of. The attacker gives her a death glare, pretty much accepting the challenge without a word. The guy squares up as his buddies start hyping him up, and Desmond is just cowering in the corner. The crowd backs up, making a circle like it's a fight club, all of them yelling to kick Desmond's team out. Desmond tries to talk some sense into the mob, begging them to work together and remember they're on the same side. But the crowd is just pure rage, totally ignoring him and screaming pure hate in his face. With a smirk that says, "You're so done," the swordswoman charges in, dead set on handling this herself. All of a sudden, Desmond starts freaking out, feeling like something is seriously wrong with his spell. The whole situation blows up as the other adventurers start trashing the team's loyalty. Then as they're all circled up, some dude just walks up and slugs Desmond right in the face, yelling about him using his connections. With his face already bruising, the kid totally denies it, insisting they haven't done anything wrong. But it's no use, he gets a nasty kick while they all scream that's what every guilty person says. A bunch of adventurers jump him, pinning him down to keep wailing on him. Finally, the swordswoman dives in, totally enraged, and blocks a hit meant for her leader. Absolutely furious, the swordswoman screams at the guy that he totally messed with the wrong crew. Without even thinking, she lands a killer kick right to his face. But the dude barely even flinches, taking it like he's made of steel, which leaves her completely shocked. She's like, no way, when the kick does 0 damage, and she realizes this guy is seriously tough. Kinda impressed by how he just took that, she actually cracks a smile and gives him props, admitting he's not just some random chump. But the crowd, instead of chilling out, just gets even more hyped up, convinced the team is weak and just getting by on favors. Then out of nowhere, the floor turns to ice, and one of the adventurers gets his foot stuck in it. Using the confusion, a few guys grab the swordswoman and hold her back. The elf mage gets cornered and snatched up too, by the other adventurers. In the middle of all the chaos, a single solid footstep rings out on the ice, hinting that someone's about to totally flip the script. That's when Desmond realizes what's happening with the spell. The one he cast is about to cause a total disaster. The other adventurers feel it too, this vibe of major danger, and they all just freeze, freaking out with his hand on the ice. The kid gets that his magic just did something weird with the dungeon itself. Even with this bizarre stuff happening, the main attacker gets ready to go after Desmond again. The girl with glasses starts screaming her head off, trying to warn everybody about the danger they're all in. But in the middle of the mess, the crowd just ignores her and keeps Desmond's crew pinned. The attackers, acting all high and mighty, tell the team to just give up if they want to live. The elf mage, while trying to get free, spots something super weird with the cave floor. She realizes with total horror that the icy floor isn't just ice, it's a death trap about to go off. The swordswoman and her friends figure it out too. All the fighting is what set the trap off. The attackers are just standing there completely clueless, not getting the warning they just heard. Then bam, the ice floor cracks under them, and you just know it's about to get bad. The whole floor just gives way, sending all the adventurers into a total freefall down into a frozen pit. Pure panic hits everyone's faces as they just drop completely out of control into who knows what. The swordswoman and her buddy are sliding down an ice ramp, trying like crazy not to fall all the way. The elf mage and the guys holding her totally lose their footing too, pulled down by the collapsing cave. Desmond and the crew are screaming like, "This can't be happening!" It's pure chaos as everyone is just falling into nothing, freaking out because the floor is just gone. From where Desmond is, you can see the bottom is covered in super sharp ice spikes, a legit death trap. With looks of pure terror, they all just watch their doom coming right for them. They're falling straight for the deadly ice spikes, which are just gleaming, promising a seriously gnarly end for everyone. The few people who didn't fall can only watch their friends go down. It's a total nightmare scene. Pretty much all the adventurers have been wiped out by the trap. The survivors just stare completely horrified, realizing they just watched everyone get wrecked. Desmond's crew, who also somehow didn't fall, are just watching the whole massacre, not believing their eyes. Right before they would have hit, a hand glowing with a green light miraculously stops their fall. Everyone there, whether they were falling or still on the ledge, is just completely stunned by what just happened. Desmond and the guy who was attacking him both look down, totally confused by the weird magic that just stepped in. The elf mage and the dwarf have no clue what's going on either. Watching it all happen wrapped in this protective light, the falling adventurers finally realize with a huge sigh of relief that they've been saved. One of the adventurers notices he's not just okay, but the ice spikes actually shattered when they hit him. All the adventurers who fell start celebrating like crazy, realizing they're totally safe right in the middle of a death trap. The main guy who was attacking Desmond is relieved for sure, but he's also super confused by the whole miracle rescue. His look turns suspicious as his eyes lock onto the person who saved them. Way over there, he sees Desmond on the ice, his staff glowing with a bright green light. The kid is obviously wiped out and hurt, but he's the one who unleashed the power that saved every single one of them. The attacker and his buddy are just speechless, like no way the kid they were just beating up is the one who saved their butts. The other saved adventurers all look up too slowly, letting the insane truth sink in. With the last bit of his strength, Desmond pushes himself up with his staff. You can see the strain of the spell on his face, and it's clear he casts some kind of body-strengthening spell on everyone just in the nick of time. But he warns them it's not going to last forever, and they need to bounce before more traps pop up. Stepping up, he's like, "Okay, rope time everybody out of this pit now." The adventurers, still kind of out of it down there, start scrambling to get out. Once they're all safe on the ledge, the guy does a quick head count and confirms they all made it out of that trap. One survivor plants his feet on the ice, finally done with that insane climb. His buddies rush over to help Desmond, who just totally crashes from using up all his mana. Then it hits the attacker, and his partner Desmond was casting that whole time they were wailing on him. A flashback shows that the mage was the first one to spot the death trap. They get that even while getting rocked, all he wanted was to save everyone. The attacker starts seeing Desmond in a whole new way, realizing his whole goal was to protect them. The other adventurers just watch, finally getting how badly they messed up. You can see the guilt and regret all over the faces of the ones who jumped him. The main guy who went after him has this look that's part shame, part, I gotta fix this. He remembers the kids' words, how he called them comrades even when they were coming at him. With this determined look, the guy decides he's gonna make things right. As like a peace offering, he gives Desmond some potions to get his strength back. Meanwhile, the swordswoman says sorry to her crew for wasting all those supplies for nothing. She's totally blaming herself for not listening to Desmond's warnings from the start. Desmond just gives her this understanding look, like he's not holding any grudges. Then all of a sudden, all the adventurers swarm them, offering up items to make up for it. Desmond's shocked by the insane amount of recovery stuff they're trying to give him. The leader of the attackers gives a legit apology, admitting he totally lost his cool in the moment. With this new look of respect, he asks Desmond to help them finish the mission like his teammates. Desmond's team just stares, completely floored by the 180 as he agrees to team up. Even the other attackers are saying sorry, getting all buddy-buddy in a way that kind of weirds out the young mage. Off in the distance, the rest of the adventurers are celebrating the new squad vibes that came out of that whole mess. Some mysterious girl is watching the whole thing from far away with this intrigued smile. The woman totally recognizes the group, and seeing their potential decides she wants to recruit one of them. But the path up ahead opens up into this new massive frozen chasm, way more intimidating than the last one. The adventurers, all on the same team, now start to doubt if they can actually clear a B-rank dungeon, wondering what to do next. Desmond thinks it over, realizing how dangerous this place really is. The guy who led the attack suggests a simple plan: just dodge enemies and traps to stay alive. But Desmond drops his master plan on them: take out the dungeon's core. He explains that if they wreck the core, the whole dungeon will get weaker, and only small fry monsters will pop up. The main attacker guy asks if that means they have to search the entire dungeon to find the thing. Desmond shoots that idea down, saying it's a waste of time and would just turn into a race. He drops the bomb that they're not the only crew in here, which makes the search way more complicated. The guy starts to stress, knowing other groups could snatch the treasure or take out the core first. With a look of pure focus, Desmond lays out a seriously bold solution. We split up, he says, laying out the plan. His team will make a beeline for the core, while everyone else hunts for treasure and keeps an eye out. His crew's mission is crystal clear: grab the gem of wisdom like ASAP. Desmond tells them not to worry, because with his multiplication enchantment spell, his small crew is more than enough to get it done. He figures out that the huge number of adventurers were all brought here on purpose to split up as part of some big plan by the clan leader. But then the other adventurers drop a harsh truth bomb. They think they're just like throwaway pawns in the game. Desmond refuses to believe that Cynthia's clan, the Knight's Garden, would be that cold to its own people. Even with their doubts, all the adventurers get hyped up again, ready to go all out on the mission. Desmond keeps a straight face, trying to process this heavy situation, while his partner tries to hype him up from behind. Even the guys who attacked them before are now yelling with total determination, completely on board with the new plan. All of a sudden, this magic snowflake just appears on the ceiling of the ice tunnel. It totally gets their attention, and the symbol seems to be leading them down the ice hallway toward a mysterious door at the very end. The magic snowflake just hangs in the air, pointing the way to go. Desmond, now leading his squad, gets ready to take them deeper into the dungeon. He gives his partner a heads up about a sketchy path, pointing out a safer way to go. He tells everyone to keep their eyes peeled for hidden traps and enemies. The dwarf in their group, Garan, starts talking to a pensive-looking Desmond. Garan says he's so relieved they sorted things out with the other adventurers. Desmond cracks a smile, totally agreeing with his buddy, and glad about the new team-up. He thinks back to the rough patches when everyone hated his group and accused them of cheating. But now he's seeing that his new teammates are way cooler than he thought. Surrounded by his crew, Desmond gets that real happiness is all about having your people. He stresses that his plan has to work because if it doesn't, things will get real bad real fast. He imagines the awful fate waiting for them if they can't take out the core. All the groups would get picked off one by one. Stepping up, he says he's sorry for making such a high-stakes call. He makes his call and asks his crew to just trust him. His face is dead serious as he admits that his biggest wish is to keep his friends from dying. At how real he's being, the swordswoman just cracks up, totally on board with zero hesitation. With a playful shove, she hypes him up and teases him for being shy, making the whole team's vibe even stronger. But then, like out of nowhere, some purple-haired girl cuts in, hinting that their mission is a huge deal. Super surprised, Desmond and his partner whip around to see who's talking. The purple-haired girl, who turns out to be the leader of another squad, suggests they join forces for the mission. Totally clueless, Desmond has no idea who this new group is, while his old attacker gives them some serious side-eye. The purple-haired girl introduces herself and her crew as team number 24. With a flirty smirk, she says her name is Mariel. One of her teammates, a rough-looking dude, introduces himself as Gant. The next guy, who looks super smug, says his name is Kenny. The last one in the group, a shy kid with his hair hiding his eyes, says he's Jean. Desmond, confused by the whole thing, asks her what the catch is, and she gives him a straight answer. Mariel argues that it would be way safer for everyone if their squads moved through the dangerous dungeon together. On top of that, she admits she was seriously impressed by Desmond's insane enchantment magic, leaving him totally stunned. Being super forward, Mariel gets right in his personal space and hugs a blushing Desmond, confessing she's totally into him. Then she straight up suggests that Desmond should ditch his current team and join hers, which makes his friends totally freak out. The swordswoman just loses it, accusing Mariel of trying to steal their MVP. Mariel just blows her off, giving her this cold, calculating look, completely determined to get what she wants. The former attacker finally gets why everyone hated on Desmond's team, even with their obvious power. She whispers to a dazed Desmond that his power is the only reason his team, which she thinks is lame, has even survived. The swordswoman is furious at being called weak while her teammates are bugging out over Desmond's situation. With a manipulative smile, Mariel suggests that if they really cared about him, they'd let him go with a stronger squad. Mariel's words hit the team hard, leaving them all silent and looking, totally wrecked by the cruel logic of what she said. The elf mage clenches her fist, trying to hold back her rage at Mariel's disrespectful offer. Desmond, getting it together, tries to argue with Mariel, insisting his team isn't what she thinks. With a look of pure determination, Desmond gets ready to defend the honor and unity of his crew. But then the swordswoman explodes, yelling at Mariel to get off her high horse, and that there's no way she's giving up Desmond. Mariel just looks down on her, saying that even if they're the same rank, their power levels are on completely different planets. Desmond and his friend are totally baffled by the insult, comically wondering what kind of trash she's even talking. Gant, Mariel's teammate, explains to a confused Desmond that their leader is crazy stubborn when she sets her mind on something. Desmond's teammates joke about him suddenly being so popular while he's still completely lost about what's going on. The argument gets more heated when Mariel and the swordswoman get in each other's faces, throwing insults about their looks. So over the drama, Desmond mentally just checks out of the fight, thinking about how complicated friendships are. Both girls corner him, demanding he pick a team like right now. Totally overwhelmed by the pressure, Desmond hilariously tries to hide behind a pillar of ice. With a super fake smile, he tries to get everyone to chill, explaining that it's not about having to choose one of them. Suddenly, a crazy loud roar cuts them off as the ice all around them starts to crack. On high alert, the three of them look up, trying to figure out where the creepy sound came from. On impulse, the swordswoman just bolts towards the noise while a freaked-out Desmond warns her it's dangerous. Without even thinking, her teammates decide to follow her, leaving Desmond and the other team behind. Mariel uses the distraction, grabbing Desmond to stop him from going after his team. With a super intense stare, Mariel pushes her point again, questioning his loyalty to a weaker team. Desmond just watches her silently, letting her words sink in with a totally unreadable expression. Finally, Desmond breaks the silence and shuts down her whole argument, which shocks Mariel and her teammate. With a confident smile, he reveals that what she thinks is their weakness is actually their biggest strength. Desmond's answer leaves Mariel completely floored, like she just can't wrap her head around it. Desmond can see his logic has totally perplexed her. The old attacker finally understands the messed up politics of the garden. Low-ranked teams are just totally disposable. All of a sudden, a panicked voice screams Desmond's name, alerting him that there's a new problem coming. Taking charge, Desmond announces that both their teams will work together to destroy the core. The two groups head down a frozen hallway, prepping for the dangerous task in front of them. As they go, a weird shimmer in the air hints that something is seriously not right. The temperature drops like a rock, even freezing the potions they're carrying, which catches everyone completely off guard. Everyone starts to freak out when a potion freezes solid and shatters, proving just how deadly cold the place is. The swordswoman yells for Desmond to get over to her, pointing out something seriously messed up way ahead of them. These sharp, super creepy shapes started coming out of the fog, and it was obvious they were in deep trouble. Then the ice started twisting and changing, forming into some kind of monster. This massive chest rose up from the frost, covered in pure ice crystals. The thing fully appeared a huge ice golem with one single glowing eye. Desmond's crew was totally frozen in fear when they realized it was an ice golem. Marilyn and Gan knew this wasn't just some random mob, it was the dungeon's final boss. And to top it all off, an ice wolf showed up, snarling at the giant thing. The golem's eye just zeroed in on the wolf with this cold killer focus, totally ignoring them. The golem started glowing with this icy light, gathering its power. Then, moving way faster than it should, it threw this killer punch, crushing the ice wolf like it was nothing. The wolf was just gone, showing off just how OP the dungeon boss was. Both teams went white as a sheet, their faces full of total fear at what the golem just did. The group just stood there silently, feeling so small after seeing that kind of power. Everyone started to panic, thinking about bailing, until the swordswoman spotted something super important. She pointed out that right behind the monster was the dungeon core. The whole reason they were there. It hit them all at once. To win, they had to fight the beast guarding the core, which felt like a total suicide mission. The swordswoman, though, tried to hype everyone up with this surprising confidence. She just smiled and told them that with Desmond's buffs, they could totally one-shot the boss. Desmond, feeling the heat, fired up his appraisal skill, and his eye lit up with this crazy blue glow. He stared hard at the ice golem, scanning it for any kind of weakness. But what the appraisal showed left him totally floored. The monster's stats were off the charts, especially its health, which was like ridiculously high. Desmond calmly explained that even though his magic multiplies stats, there was a major catch. The truth of their situation hit the group like a ton of bricks. His friends asked if his magic was strong enough, but Desmond had to break the bad news and confirm their worst fears. He told them their base stats were just way too weak, which left his team feeling awkward and totally silent. A wave of despair washed over them, thinking the mission was a total bust. But then, Desmond wasn't about to quit. His face changed, getting this super determined look. He came up with a new plan. They didn't have to beat the golem, they just had to tank its hits. His strategy was to use his magic to juice up everyone's health, basically turning them into a human shield. That way they could just ignore the boss's attacks and focus on wrecking the core. In his head, he imagined the swordswoman, all powered up by his magic, crushing the golem's crystals like it was nothing. Gant remembered the buff that saved them from the fall and had to admit it was pretty sick. Still, he wasn't sure that same magic could handle the boss's insane attacks. Desmond tried to chill his team out, but you could cut the tension with a knife. He gave them a smile and said he'd checked their stats, and their defense was their best feature. All of a sudden, Desmond's face changed when he saw something he didn't expect. Ren, the swordswoman, had sprinted way out in front of everyone, just waiting impatiently for the go-ahead. Then with no warning, Ren just charged into the fight, yelling for Desmond to hit her with the buff. The rest of the team started freaking out, screaming at her not to be so reckless before the spell was even ready. Mariel watched Ren's crazy move, sweating bullets. She knew Desmond's magic was powerful, but still, Mariel just couldn't get why Ren had this blind faith charging in like that. Even with the insane risk, Ren went for the golem, dead set on landing the first hit. The monster's eye twitched, locking its gaze onto the tiny person who actually dared to challenge it. The group totally panicked when they saw the golem was locked on, yelling at Desmond to cast the spell like now. With a look of total focus, Desmond got ready to cast his buff. But at the very last second, you could see on his face that something was seriously wrong. He looked so confused when his buff magic just wasn't working. Then he saw why. The insane cold had totally frozen the tip of his staff. A choked gasp escaped him when he realized that his staff, the one thing he needed to cast spells, was completely useless. In a flash, he remembered the potion thing, and it hit him that his staff must have brushed against a wall. He felt this wave of hopelessness, knowing that without his staff, there was no way he could cast the spell. Mariel and Gant were totally shocked by the awful news. Meanwhile, the golem's eye started glowing like crazy. Getting ready to attack, the ice beast fired off a ton of sharp icicles right at a defenseless Ren. You could see the terror on her face as she saw her life flash before her eyes. Ren was totally trapped by the ice attack with nowhere to run. But even though she was scared, she gritted her teeth and braced herself for the end. Her teammates could only watch in horror, knowing there was no way she was dodging that. But at the last second, the fighter from the other crew jumped in and shoved Ren clear. Her rescuer yelled at a shocked Ren to get up, cause the danger was far from over. The golem's eye cracked with pure rage, its gaze turning this freaky yellow and locking onto the two of them. The furious golem shot out another ice attack, pinning them both down. The warriors are trapped right in the middle of this mess. Their friends can only watch, totally helpless, screaming for them to make a run for it. They both scramble to their feet, facing the monster together as it gets ready to strike again. The ice beast starts powering up, and the crystals all over its body pulse with this seriously evil light. Ren's shocked to see that the person who saved her is actually hurt. A gnarly shard of ice is stuck deep in her leg armor. The fighter knows she messed up, realizing the injury makes her a total sitting duck. But then out of nowhere, Ren grabs her arm tight, totally refusing to ditch her. Ren helps the injured fighter stay up, even though everyone's telling her to bail. No way is Ren leaving the person who just saved her skin. She warns her, "If you give up, we're both toast!" Then just in the nick of time, this massive ice wall shoots up out of nowhere, blocking a deadly storm of icicles. Both warriors whip around, totally floored, staring at the shield that just saved them. They realize it was Gant, the dwarf from the other squad, who threw up the wall. With a super serious look, Gant tells them to get out of there, warning them he can't pull a stunt like that again. But the effort totally wipes him out and he just collapses. And then to the girl's horror, the fighter starts freaking out when she sees another attack coming, and their hero is totally down for the count. The whole group is terrified, bracing for another round of attacks from the golem. But then, bam! A blast of fire intercepts the ice spikes, melting them in midair. Ren and the fighter just stare, completely confused by fire magic showing up in a freaking ice cave. Ren turns in surprise. It was Mariel who cast the spell. But the elf mage admits she's completely out of mana and can't cast anything else. The other team starts to panic big time. Now they have to survive and rescue their friends. A desperate Desmond tries to call the shots, but he's just frozen, totally paralyzed by the chaos. His hand is shaking over his useless staff, and his brain is just stuck on a loop, asking the same question again and again. He's drowning in guilt, realizing this whole disaster is all his fault. He cringes, thinking about how cocky he was, so sure his plan and his buff magic were perfect. A tear rolls down his cheek as it hits him that his screw-up is going to get his whole team wiped out. The mean things his old crew said are echoing in his head, calling him useless and throwing all his past fails in his face. Totally broken, Desmond just gives up, sure that he's completely powerless to save them. He's just spiraling, telling himself he's nothing but a useless weight on the team. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad is frozen with panic, not knowing if they should run or fight. Even Ren, stuck at the front, just gives this tired smile like she's accepted this is the end. Then suddenly a hand yanks Desmond by the collar, snapping him out of his pity party. It's the warrior from his own team, and he looks furious, totally done with Desmond's moping. His face is red with anger as he screams that he's useless. Desmond flinches, shocked by how harsh his teammate is being. The warrior accuses him of only knowing how to say sorry and acting like everyone thinks he's a loser. The brutal honesty leaves Desmond totally speechless, with tears welling up in his eyes. Finally, the warrior calls him out for being the only one doing absolutely nothing, even asking if he's been hitting the bottle. The warrior totally denies it, explaining the bottle is for the mission, and right in front of a stunned Desmond, he pours the stuff all over the frozen staff to try and get it loose. Desmond just watches, completely mind-blown, having no idea what his friend's weird plan is. The warrior lays it out for him, explaining that booze doesn't freeze and can melt the ice. Turns out the warrior knew that alcohol works like antifreeze. Sonari admits that just the alcohol itself won't do much, kinda like warm water. But by adding his own body heat to the mix, he actually manages to yank the staff free right in front of a shocked Desmond. Desmond's hopelessness just melts away into pure amazement as he sees his staff free and glowing. Meanwhile, the ice wall that was protecting them starts to crack like really bad. The whole thing shatters and another volley of ice spikes comes flying at them. The group freaks out, now totally exposed to the incoming attack. Sonari just cracks a smile like, well, guess we can't dodge these forever. The female warrior yells at him to save her, but he just jokes back that he'd rather be the one getting rescued. At the same time, the ice golem is gearing up for its ultimate move, which is basically their worst nightmare coming true. The beast lets loose this insane wave of power, pretty much sealing their fate. They're just watching, helpless, bracing for the end. But then this green glow suddenly wraps around all of them, leaving them totally fine but super confused. Catherine is just staring at the magic shield in awe, like she can't believe they were just saved. They realize the shield is coming from Desmond, who's now standing tall holding his staff. Desmond announces he's back in the game, telling them he used his body enhancement magic to shield everyone. But even with his epic save, the freezing cave still gave him a little frostbite on his nose. His friends, now safe behind his magic, start cheering for him, totally relieved and pumped. The orb on his staff is just blasting out this powerful green light, the source of his insane magic. The mage is standing tall, totally confident and ready to prove he's a real leader. His eyes are sharp and locked in, ready to face this thing without a second thought. Even the giant golem looks kinda shocked, its crystal eye reflecting the shield. He grips his staff tight, getting ready to lead his team into a make-or-break attack. Amped up by his power, the whole crew gets ready to charge in on his signal. The mage slams his staff on the ground, sending a massive wave of energy ripping across the battlefield. With a totally confident shout, he gives the signal to start the final takedown on the golem. Desmond's magic starts pumping up the warrior's health and strength, and she can feel the power just flowing through her. The rest of the fighters get a major boost to their mana regen, getting hyped for the fight. Even the elf mage feels her own mental power get a serious buff, and she's totally shocked by how far the spell reaches. Desmond even gets a hit of his own magic, which instantly heals the frostbite on her nose. But even with all these buffs, the ice golem doesn't even pause. It just unleashes another volley of razor-sharp crystals. But thanks to Desmond's juice, the team dodges the shots with some insane agility. The purple-haired warrior starts taunting the monster, weaving through the attacks like it's nothing. Ren is also gliding between the crystals with a smirk, thinking this is almost too easy. Desmond cuts in on their victory lap to remind them not to just charge the boss head-on. He points to their actual target, the dungeon core, which is glowing like crazy behind the ice giant. Desmond slams his staff on the ground, shouting that they win by smashing the core. Ren, feeling totally supercharged, is immediately on board with the new plan. With a fierce grin, the warrior charges ahead, dead set on landing the final hit. But the ice golem reacts in a flash to cut off her crazy charge. The elf mage screams out a desperate warning when she sees her friend is in major danger. Ren realizes way too late that the monster totally read her move, and she barely deflects the attack, getting thrown back by the insane force. The mage rushes to her side to see if she's alright. As Ren tries to shake off the hit, Sonari and the other warrior watch the failed attack, already getting ready for another go. The warrior reminds everyone not to forget what they're really after: the glowing dungeon core. The core starts to sink down into the ice like it's about to disappear. Desmond realizes, totally frustrated, that the golem is trying to hide its weak spot. If the core sinks all the way, they'll lose their only shot at winning this fight. Sonari and Desmond start to panic, totally clueless about how to counter the monster's new trick. But then, this determined look just takes over Desmond's face as a new plan clicks. The mage pitches a super risky idea: distract the enemy to catch it off guard. His strategy is for the team to be the bait, while one person goes to smash the core. Ren totally volunteers for the final hit, positive she's the fastest one in the group. With the core just seconds from disappearing, the team braces for their last shot. Feeling the pressure, everyone just throws everything they have into the attack. To pull off the plan, the team fans out to get the golem's attention, yelling and making a scene. The ice monster totally falls for the bait, turning its huge body towards the decoys. Sinery and the dwarf warrior keep yelling at it to make sure it stays locked on them. Totally furious. The golem locks its single eye on the adventurers who are messing with it. Seeing the perfect opening, Desmond gives Ren the signal to make her move. With a look like steel, Ren zones in, ready to play her part and use the distraction. The warrior takes off like a shot, sprinting right past the giant thing. Sanari is just watching, not even breathing, just desperately hoping this plan actually works. The rest of the team is nervously watching, putting all their hope in Ren's speed. At the same time, the golem launches a killer attack at the decoys who manage to jump out of the way. She's so close. Desmond watches completely focused, knowing that all of their lives are riding on this one hit. The whole team is betting on Ren, smiling because they're so sure they're about to win. Ren dives out of the air, swinging her sword with everything she's got at the crystal core. Her face is pure concentration, putting every last bit of her energy into this final attack. With a battle cry, she lands a totally devastating hit right on the golem's weak spot. The sword smashes into the core, setting off a huge explosion of light and energy. A victorious smile totally lights up her face, totally sure she just destroyed the target. But her look completely changes in a split second when she realizes something went wrong. To her complete shock, the core is still in one piece, protected by some kind of invisible shield that just bounced her attack away. The rest of the team just stares in total disbelief and panic, seeing their final desperate plan totally fail. The team gets that the golem doesn't just attack. It's actually thinking and defending its core on purpose. A cold sweat trickles down Desmond's back as he realizes how terrifyingly smart their enemy is. Total despair just fills his eyes as he realizes they are completely and utterly trapped. Their one and only chance is disappearing as the crystal core sinks deeper into the ice. There's one last flash from the target just before it vanishes forever. The whole group starts to freak out as they watch their only way to win slip away. With a single hopeless tear, Desmond accepts that they're about to lose. But then an enraged shout from the blonde. The warrior totally shatters the depressing silence. That surprise rally snaps Desmond out of his daze, making him finally look up. The warrior shouts that they are not giving up, hyping up her teammates with her insane, unbreakable spirit. Sanari the archer grips his bow with a fresh wave of determination, totally ready to go. His teammates just stare at him surprised while Desmond's face goes red, shocked by his gutsy move. Without even thinking twice, the archer leaps into the air, prepping a shot in mid-flight. He screams his head off that if one person goes down, there's always someone else to step up and keep fighting. The archer's words are ringing in Desmond's head, who's watching him like half in awe and half totally confused. A messed up memory of some guy with the same brutal philosophy flashes through the mage's mind. Sanari pours all his energy into a single arrow, proudly owning his role on the team. The arrow, glowing with power, flies at a crazy speed toward the sinking core. The golem's eye snaps wide open, sensing the threat. At the very last second, the arrow hits with an insane explosive force, shattering the ice all around the target. The team is freaking out, thinking the golem's gonna throw up its shield again, stopping the arrow from hitting its mark, but with a fierce look, she's like, "No way is our plan failing." The elven mage launches a fireball to intercept the golem's defense. The fire spell totally clears a path, letting the arrow keep going without anything in its way. The arrow punches right through the last energy shield, heading straight for the exposed core. Desmond just watches the sick teamwork of his crew, completely blown away. The blonde warrior is also standing there with her jaw on the floor at the wild counterattack. The rest of the group just stares, unable to believe what they're seeing. The crystal core finally cracks and explodes into 1,000 pieces. With a look of pure relief, Desmond is like, "We actually did it. We won." The core shatters into bits, as Sanari gives a smug smile, and the elf mage looks at him totally surprised. The rest of the team can't even process what just went down their faces, a mix of shock and awe. Even Ren, who totally whiffed her attack, is just speechless at the crazy win. The ice golem starts to fall apart. Its crystal body cracks all over. The ice giant comes crashing down with a huge boom right in front of them. As the adventurers watch, totally stunned, a sudden wave of ice-cold air washes over the team, making them shiver like crazy. The ice on the ground starts to move and reshape itself in a super weird way. A structure starts rising from the frozen ground, showing them that this is so not over yet. The ice structure opens up, revealing a secret passage leading deep underground. With the golem toast, the team now finds themselves staring down a new and super mysterious path. Desmond is just looking around, amazed that everything around him is completely frozen solid. In front of them, a massive monster lies totally still, trapped inside a giant block of ice. The mage remembers his theory destroying the dungeon core should have shut down everything inside it. The elf mage and the warrior listen to him, waiting to hear the rest of his idea. With a decisive look, Desmond gets ready to officially call the mission a success. The team just erupts in cheers, celebrating the massive success of their super risky plan. His friends are all congratulating Desmond, giving him props for his incredible leadership. The blonde warrior gives him a huge, excited hug, but he just humbly brushes off the praise. Desmond smiles, saying that they only won because everyone gave it their all. The group stares at the frozen monster where the dungeon core is glowing in its chest. Desmond's team is completely speechless when they realize what the glowing thing in the monster's chest is. It's the legendary gem of wisdom, the actual prize they were here for all along. Scenery and the blonde warrior are like, no way. They can't believe the treasure they were hunting for was right here the whole time. The purple-haired woman just smirks like she's so much better than them while her team celebrates finishing the mission. With a quick, sharp move, a hand just snatches the gem of wisdom from its spot. Desmond's team can only watch totally helpless as the other group grabs the priceless treasure. The purple-haired woman brings the gem to her lips, soaking in her victory with a triumphant look. With the gem in her hand, she makes Desmond an offer to join her team if he ever wants to see the treasure again. The woman's teammates are totally surprised. At her pushiness about recruiting the mage, she just smiles confidently, saying that she wants Desmond on her team now more than ever. One of the rivals actually defends Desmond, saying that the treasure was something they all earned together. The other team's leader completely ignores her teammate while Desmond shyly asks if he can just see the gem. She gives him a hard no, saying the gem is her only bargaining chip to negotiate with him. With a majorly provocative attitude, the woman dares Desmond to make a choice. The mage, looking super ticked off, finally loses his patience with the woman's arrogance. In a move nobody saw coming, Desmond launches an attack demanding she give back the gem. The purple-haired woman is in total shock, taking a hit she never expected. One of her teammates blushes, completely floored by Desmond's sudden show of power, while the other member of the rival team is also frozen by the unexpected aggression. The elven mage and the rest of Desmond's crew watch his wild move, totally stunned, while Ren and the archer are also just baffled by their leader's bold play. Out of nowhere, a guy with silver hair appears and attacks both Desmond and the rival leader. The new guy's stare is ice-cold and ruthless, with a glint in his eyes that just screams danger. In the middle of all the chaos, nobody has a clue what just happened on the battlefield. This mystery dude just blitzes Desmond like with insane speed and strength, and Desmond can't even react before he gets totally slammed by the surprise attack. Desmond's crew just watches in horror as their leader goes down defeated by some random stranger. While the elf mage and the blonde warrior are freaking out, unable to process the betrayal, the enraged archer demands answers from his teammate. Revealing the attacker is Jin. Jin, now holding the gem, just calmly says he's thinking clearer than ever. He reveals that his one and only goal from day one was to get his hands on the gem. He scoffs, saying he tried to get it peacefully, but the other leader wouldn't play ball as the archer in total disbelief reminds him they were friends. The archer can't even wrap his head around the betrayal, but Jin just scoffs at the whole friendship idea, making it clear he was just using them the whole time. The archer remembers them talking about groups that jack treasures, and the awful truth finally clicks. Surrounded by this dark vibe, Jin reveals he's part of the criminal organization, the Black Underarm. The elven mage and the warrior totally freak out when they hear the group's notorious name. With a sick laugh, the traitor confirms that him joining their team was just a way to get what he wanted. The archer is just overwhelmed with rage and a sense of betrayal gritting his teeth, and without a second thought, he draws his bow and fires an arrow right at his former bro. But Jin just looks annoyed, barely even flinching at his ex-teammate's attack. With a flick of his sword, he easily bats the arrow away, calling the attempt pathetic. The traitor totally mocks the archer, saying he already knows exactly how limited his power level is. Jin looks down on the rest of the crew, calling them a bunch of weak D-rank adventurers without their leader. He arrogantly brags that his real power is way beyond a C-rank adventurer, and the archer just grinds his teeth, realizing the insane skill gap between them. While the warrior and the elven mage just watch, completely frozen by how helpless and angry they feel, Jin announces that now that the cat's out of the bag, he has no reason to hold back. Meanwhile, Desmond and the other team's leader are just lying on the ground, seriously messed up and totally out of it. With a sinister smile and his eyes glinting with malice, Jin declares he's gonna end them all. Jin lunges to attack, planning to get rid of any witnesses to his betrayal, while Desmond is still on the ground, completely unconscious and vulnerable, and the archer curses himself for being so powerless, knowing they have zero chance against Jin. In a panic, he yells at his teammates that they have to run if they want to make it out alive. As the archer gets ready to carry Desmond, telling the others to book it, Jin blocks their escape, ready to finish them off before they can even move. With a cruel smile, the traitor warns them that he's not letting anyone get away. Jin unleashes a deadly strike at the archer, who braces for the end. But suddenly a flash of light blocks Jin's sword, completely shocking the archer. The leader of the rival team is back in the game, and even though he's injured, he stopped the attack. The archer's life was flashing before his eyes, he was paralyzed with fear. But then the other leader stepped in, taking the hit from Jin's sword to shield him. Jin reacts with pure disbelief and annoyance, seeing his attack get foiled again. Despite the pain, the guy stands his ground, refusing to give in to the traitor. The elf mage and the rest of the team can't believe their old rival is actually defending them. The blonde warrior just watches a mix of total shock and a new flicker of hope. Jin realizes his attacks aren't connecting, like some kind of invisible barrier is bouncing them off. The traitor gets super frustrated, unable to figure out where such a crazy strong defense is coming from. Suddenly, everyone turns to see Desmond, who they thought was knocked out cold, is weakly getting to his feet. Desmond is the one behind the mysterious shield, becoming the team's last hope. Jin figures out that Desmond must have activated his staff, or cast a spell right as he went down. The rival leader smirks at Jin, saying the traitor made a huge miscalculation. With a malicious grin, Jin admits he hesitated to take Desmond out, thinking he might be useful. Now filled with rage, the traitor regrets not finishing off the team leader from the jump. Both teams watch the tense showdown, energized by the unexpected plot twist. But Jin just plays it cool, saying that he already got what he came for anyway. The traitor decides to bail and starts to escape through an icy tunnel. Before he leaves, he taunts them, calling them fools who are easy to play because they rely on each other so much. Jin's cruel words about how convenient allies are really get to Desmond and make him furious. Desmond clenches his fists, thinking bitterly about the betrayal and what being a team is supposed to mean. Desmond feels completely defeated, bummed that his plan was a bust and the gem got stolen. Suddenly, an unexpected voice calls Jin the real idiot, making everyone snap to attention. The rival team's elf mage and dwarf warrior whip around just as surprised as everyone else. On the ground, the leader of the other team, who they thought was out for the count, starts to move despite her injuries. With a defiant look, the woman weakly gets up, warning Jin not to write her off. She calls him out on his arrogance, pointing out that his lack of interest was so predictable it was kinda lame. So epic that he totally blanked on her adventurer class. Desmond and his crew are just staring, completely shook as she hits Jin with the info he blew off, dropping the bomb that she's actually a thief. The girl flashes the gem she snagged, making it clear she's not handing over the loot. Jin's face just completely glitches out, the dude realizing he just got played and lost his big prize. Desmond's squad is literally jaw-dropped, like they can't even compute this insane plot twist. The rival leader and the blonde warrior are just staring with their mouths wide open. Jin stops dead in his tracks, whipping around like, wait, what? He can't even figure out when he got owned. The thief is just soaking it all in with this killer smirk, totally loving how wrecked the traitor looks. But plot twist, the whole thing is too much for her beat-up body, and she just collapses while her team watches in horror. Her leader totally panics, yelling at them to take care of her. Meanwhile, Jin uses the chaos to bounce. From way down the hall, he flashes this messed-up smile, like half amused, half super salty, and Desmond's crew is so confused when the rival leader also starts to let out. This laugh that's pure relief, and heck yeah, we won! Jin, totally pissed, admits he completely slept on the adventurers he thought were total trash, giving them a look that's pure hate. He admits he lost this round, but promises it's gonna get real next time they meet. His crazy intense killer vibe just fills the whole hallway, making everyone straight up shiver. Right before he vanishes, Jin tries to get in their heads, warning them that his organization is literally everywhere. The echo of his threat just hangs in the empty hall after the traitor completely ghosts. Back at the dungeon entrance, the adventurers are just standing there, totally dazed, trying to process everything that just went down. The rival leader walks up to Desmond as both squads work together to get their injured teammates out. The mission is officially over, as they get the wounded ready to be moved. The camera zooms in on the thief and her leader, both passed out, the unexpected heroes of the day. Desmond and his crew just watch in silence as their old rivals carry their friends away. Desmond's team stands together, feeling like the mission was a win. He's holding the gem they got back, finally getting the true value of unity and having each other's backs. With this new fire in him, he accepts that his new role puts a huge target on his back. Back at their massive headquarters, the teams start to chill after that brutal mission. The blonde warrior says what's up to the dwarf, looking way more energetic and pretty much all better. Her friends ask how she's doing, but she just plays it cool, like her injuries are nothing. The warrior thanks Desmond for having her back and asks where he is. The elf mage explains the commander called Desmond in for a post-mission chat. The whole team looks kinda worried since Desmond has been totally in his own head ever since that whole betrayal went down. The scene cuts to the commander's office door, where their next move is about to be decided. Inside, the commander greets Desmond with a smile, telling him he totally crushed it. The commander kicks back in his chair and says making Desmond's team the lead was definitely the right call. Desmond, looking all serious, barely even reacts, just quietly thanks him. The commander, holding a bottle, is all chill and ready to celebrate. He tries to get Desmond to lighten up a bit, telling him he should be celebrating his team's awesome win. But Desmond just isn't feeling it, remembering that this victory came at a huge price, and it wasn't just his own power that got them through. Picking up on the vibe, the commander asks if he's worried about the two injured adventurers. He tells Desmond not to stress, admitting that even though their injuries are gnarly, they're going to be okay. The scene flips to the med bay, where the heroes of the mission are getting patched up. The commander brags about how amazing his medical crew is, guaranteeing they'll make a full recovery. For the injured, he confirms that even the rival leader who got seriously wrecked will heal up completely because of their top-tier medical tech. Same goes for the thief, who's just resting while the docs work on getting her back to 100%. Even with all the good news, Desmond is totally blaming himself, convinced he wasn't strong enough, and that's why people got hurt. The commander tells Desmond he did more than enough and reminds him of a talk they had before. He reveals the whole point of the mission was for Desmond to learn what teamwork and real grit are all about. Desmond, looking down, admits that's the exact reason he's so scared now. His face is just full of pain, thinking about his friends getting hurt again. The commander totally gets it, letting out a small laugh at how real Desmond is being while his assistant just watches. After a quick bow, Desmond heads out of the office, leaving the commander and his assistant by themselves. The young leader walks down the hall alone, feeling the massive weight of his new responsibilities. The commander's assistant says she's worried, thinking the whole leader thing is way too much for him. The commander figures out that Desmond's never really had a true squad, and that's why he's taking all the blame. His assistant lets that sink in, finally getting the guy's complicated emotional state. The commander thinks that even though Desmond is close to his breaking point, this is a super important test for him to grow. Then, in a hilarious move, his assistant yoinks the commander's booze bottle and he just whines about it. Meanwhile, Desmond totally freezes in the hallway as this weird blue energy starts glowing from his feet. Tormented, the young leader is like, what do I have to do to stop this tragedy from happening all over again? The messed up memories from that mission hit him hard, as he refuses to see his crew in that kind of danger ever again. The thought that luck might not be on their side next time that someone could actually die is seriously freaking him out. Jean's deadly promise of revenge is just echoing in his head, reminding him of the constant threat they're under. A vision of total chaos shakes him to his core, paralyzing him with the fear of seeing his friends get wrecked again. Desperate, he's clinging to the idea that he has to do more, that he needs to find the power to protect them. His anguish flips into this look of insane determination, like he just found the answer. All of a sudden, Desmond finds himself in some spooky, unfamiliar hall, nowhere near the corridor he was just in. The young leader looks around completely spun out and having no idea where he is. He realizes he's in a room he's never seen before, wondering if it's even part of the headquarters. Then some mysterious figure with a seriously creepy smile slowly steps out from the shadows. The thing welcomes him, admitting that it dragged him to this place on purpose. Startled, Desmond demands to know who his captor is before he can even make a move. A super-fast force with red eyes lunges right at him. Desmond's face is pure panic at the sight of the incoming attack. An invisible impact sends him flying as the ground just erupts with energy. He lands hard, totally unable to avoid the painful smackdown with the ground. Still on the floor, Desmond sees some massive figure walking toward him. Not getting what's going on, his eyes go wide as he tries to figure out who this new opponent is. A woman with white hair and a wicked smile appears, revealing that she knows all about him and his power. With sharp fangs and a super unsettling welcome, the mystery woman greets him. Pure terror grips Desmond as he feels this threatening vibe just pouring off her. He instinctively scoots back, realizing he's facing a next-level threat. Without even thinking, he pops his appraisal skill to find out who this woman is. A blue light glows from his eyes as he analyzes the enigmatic figure. The result of the appraisal leaves him completely shook, unable to believe what he's seeing. His fist clenches tight, totally overwhelmed by the shocking news. The appraisal shows off some monster-level stats, confirming he's up against an actual S-rank adventurer. Still on the ground, Desmond watches her cautiously trying to get a read on his attacker. With a fanged grin, the woman introduces herself as a member of the Black Armpit organization. The name drops, and Desmond is just completely paralyzed, his eyes wide with shock and fear. The mysterious woman points right at him, declaring with a smile that her only mission is to take him out. The name Black Armpit echoes in Desmond's head, and he starts to get just how bad this situation is. He remembers Jean's warning about this enemy organization that goes after members of the Xiao Garden. He breaks into a cold sweat, remembering their death threat, but he never dreamed they'd move this fast. He's floored by the absolute nerve of an enemy sneaking into their own headquarters. The woman smiles confidently, confirming Desmond's worst fear. He's facing an S-rank enemy, totally overwhelmed by it all. Desmond clutches his staff, determined to stop her no matter what. The woman just mocks his whole "I have to protect my friends" thing with a sinister smile, blowing off any plan he could possibly have. The young leader reacts with surprise, realizing she just read him like a book. She lunges forward, unleashing her power and shattering Desmond's magical defense with insulting ease. With a cocky laugh, the woman brags about her insane strength, declaring that no strategy he comes up with could ever beat her. The young leader tries to block the next hit with his staff, but the force of the impact is just way too much for him. His face twists in pain and surprise as he's swallowed by the attack's powerful energy. The attacker just watches from the air as Desmond gets slammed violently into the ground. Completely overwhelmed, badly hurt, and gasping for air, the young guy tries to get to his feet, struggling to stay in the fight. His enemy taunts him, creating a sphere of fire, while reminding him his support magic is useless when he's all alone. Trapped by the fire attack, Desmond desperately looks for a way out before it's too late. The sphere of fire explodes with devastating force, completely swallowing the young leader's body. A violent explosion of smoke and ash rocks the area, hiding the result of the attack in a cloud of dust. A boot stomps firmly on the ground, surrounded by a greenish aura of energy. Desmond appears looking beat up, but determined, activating an enchantment spell to juice up his vitality. His enemy just smirks at him, noting with amusement that he's used magic to buff himself. With total disdain, she says his effort is pointless, and that he has zero chance of winning. The young leader grits his teeth, admitting to himself the insane power difference between them, even knowing his stats aren't nearly enough. His determination pushes him to find some way to fight back. The woman watches him with a condescending smile, thinking he's a total fool for his useless resistance. The woman raises one finger, channeling dark energy as she declares he's disqualified. Terror is written all over Desmond's face as he realizes his end is coming. The attacker unleashes a vortex of dark power, an overwhelming technique that hangs over the young man. With a sadistic smile, she announces to him that this was totally it for him. The young leader just stares completely frozen by the insane scale of the attack. The dark energy is rushing right at him, basically screaming that he's about to be deleted for good. Trapped in the blast, Desmond just gives in, feeling totally helpless, and wondering if this is really the end. Just as he's about to give up, his eyes catch someone totally unexpected showing up. All of a sudden, a sorceress just appears in the middle of all the chaos. He's shocked to see her there, but then he realizes it's Dorothy, which leaves his attacker completely stunned by the interruption. Desmond watches as the whole dark attack just fizzles out, realizing the attacker is actually her master. The killer orb of energy just becomes totally harmless, leaving the young leader completely mind-blown. The deadly magic literally turns into a harmless shower of confetti and petals that rains down all around him. Totally confused, the guy can only stare at how weirdly beautiful the whole scene is. The white-haired woman pats herself on the back for her beautiful magic, which just makes Desmond even more lost. He stares at her, trying to process the sudden flip in her vibe and her whole look. Striking a pose, the mystery woman introduces herself as Rafim Nolan Master Noah. Rafim drops the bomb that she's Dorothy's adoptive mom and part of the Garden's 1st Brigade. A clan org chart pops up confirming her crazy high rank, leaving Desmond even more shook. The guy is so shocked that his scream pretty much echoes through the entire headquarters. Desmond and Dorothy just watch in awe as the whole illusion space shatters, revealing Rafim's true power. The young leader gets it now. The entire battlefield was just a crazy illusion cooked up by Rafim's insane magic. Dorothy totally calls out her master about the attack, but Rafim just calmly says it was a slightly rough orientation. The word orientation leaves Desmond completely baffled, like he can't believe that was the reason for that messed up attack. Rafim reveals that Cynthia told her all about him, gassing him up as a super promising enchanter. She explains she wanted to meet him since he's Dorothy's partner, but then she just scoffs, saying she found him basically on his last breath. The poor guy, totally lost, asks her to explain what she means, not getting her logic at all. Rafim's tone flips and she asks him straight up why he decided to fight her instead of just running. The question totally blindsides Desmond, leaving him speechless and with no clue what to say. She gets in his face and chews him out, telling him that not running when he knew he was toast just proved he was a complete idiot. He tries to defend himself, arguing that he couldn't just bail on his friends like that. Rafim just shuts that argument down, explaining that his big sacrifice would have been for nothing, since his friends would have gone down right after him. With a bossy look, she schools him, saying his only smart move was to escape and get back up. Desmond is just frozen by the harsh truth. Seeing he's getting it, the master clarifies with a smirk that she didn't mean calling on some low-level members. She reminds him that S-rank badasses like her exist in the garden, and he should have gone to them. A cold sweat starts dripping down Desmond's face as he realizes how badly he messed up. Rafim tells him he's carrying a weight that isn't his, blaming himself for literally everything. Dorothy chimes in with the lecture as Rafim warns him that his whole "I'll fight alone" thing isn't going to save anyone. Super frustrated, the master demands to know why he refuses to trust his own allies. Her words just echo in Desmond's head, and you can see a light bulb go off in his eyes. The young leader tries to say something, but the words are just stuck. Dorothy gently takes his hands, a sweet way of showing she's got his back no matter what. She agrees with her master, telling him he really shouldn't try to carry everything by himself. She sincerely asks him to let the rest of the team share the weight of the mission. She reminds him that all their friends feel the same way, wishing they could have done more to help out. The sorceress promises him that just like he worries about them, they're also super worried about him. Dorothy confesses that they feel lonely and kind of useless when he won't rely on them. Her words totally catch him off guard, hitting him right in the feels. Overwhelmed by it all, his eyes fill with tears as he finally gets how important their friendship is. He starts beating himself up, admitting he never really understood what having a team was all about. With tears streaming down his face, he finally understands he has so many allies he can count on. As Dorothy comforts him, you can see the huge weight on his heart just lift away. Rafim watches the whole thing with a satisfied smirk. Happy with how her little lesson turned out, Dorothy hugs her teammate while her master just thinks this messy moment is a totally normal part of being young. The young leader thinks it over, realizing that even though he's still new to this, he gets his role in the clan a lot better now. Rafim remembers all the crazy praise Cynthia gave him, noticing that her feelings for Desmond are way more than just friendly. With a sly grin, the master decides she's going to tell Cynthia all about this, already imagining how hilarious her reaction will be. And right on cue, Cynthia shows up at the door completely clueless about everything that just went down. Rafim sneakily slides over to Cynthia, ready to get her little prank started. Cynthia walks in and gets the completely wrong idea, thinking Desmond is crying on some other girl's shoulder. Rafim totally uses the confusion and whispers something to Cynthia, unleashing her full-on jealous rage. The master is totally smirking, loving the drama she just stirred up. Some serious bad vibes are hanging over our clueless leader. Totally mortified, Desmond tries to pull it together and stop the waterworks. The poor guy apologizes to Dorothy, but she just gives him this super understanding smile. Desmond mumbles about how lame it was to cry all over her, while Dorothy's just glad he feels like he can open up to them. His brain, however, is totally stuck on the specific detail of where his head was resting. He keeps replaying that moment in his mind, which just makes him turn an even deeper shade of red. The poor leader is literally frozen with cringe. Unable to process any of this, Desmond's brain just short-circuits, caught between being mortified and another thought. A super random thought about how lucky he just got. His eyes land on a furious, blushing Cynthia with Rafin just chilling behind her, soaking up all the drama. Cynthia's eyes are basically swirling with jealousy as she takes in the sight of Desmond crying on some other girl's shoulder. Desmond is tripping over himself, trying to explain it's not what it looks like, but he can't even form a sentence. Cynthia is just overcome with a mix of rage and secondhand embarrassment, turning her face into a full-on tomato. Okay, so scene change. And we're at the Labyrinth Association. You know, the place that's basically HR for adventurers. Inside, some dude is taking out all his anger on a wall, totally freaking out his squad. A redhead tries to get the raging warrior, this guy Adele, to chill out. But Adele just blows up, yelling that there's no way he can calm down after what just happened. Then he spills the tea on why he's so mad. His B-rank squad got knocked down to C-rank. The red-haired woman is just like, "Welp, it is what it is," admitting that their epic losing streak in the dungeons is what got them here. Nearby, other adventurers are totally clowning on them for their bad luck. While Adele listens to their trash talk, his face is just twitching with rage. The gossip is spreading like crazy, saying the team is now banned from all B-rank dungeons. Their rivals are loving this, guessing they'll probably be D-rank soon, and snarking about how they used to be the next big thing. And everyone else just jumps on the hate train, commenting on how they'd be so mortified if they were them. Adele's team is just standing there all alone in the middle of the hall, feeling everyone staring and whispering about them. The blonde warrior admits with a sigh that their arrogant attitude back in the day made them a ton of enemies. Unable to take it anymore, Adele just lets out this rage-filled, blood-curdling scream, cursing out everyone making fun of them. Adele totally loses it and grabs one of the guys talking smack by the collar, ready to throw down. His crew jumps in super fast, trying to stop him and warning him that fighting is only going to make things a million times worse. But the guy Adele's holding just taunts him, making a crack about how weak his grip is. To his teammates' shock, the dude's right. Adele's grip is seriously pathetic. The whole thing turns into a super public, super cringy moment, as people start wondering if this team was ever even good. Despite his friends trying to drag him away, Adele's just frozen, stuck between being totally humiliated and completely furious. Then a new piece of gossip starts making its way through the crowd, something about how the team's old enchanter was like insanely talented. Hearing about their ex-teammate makes Adele's face twist with anger and shock. The tea is that Espatada's epic fail started the second their enchanter bounced, and now that guy has supposedly joined some super elite clan. The idea that they were ditched by their most valuable player is enough to make Adele's anger just totally explode. They can't handle any more of this embarrassment, so the team just bails under a storm of whispers and dirty looks. The three members of the fallen team are just sitting there in total silence, thinking about what a disaster their lives have become. The redhead complains that they're basically out of options, saying they're too broke to hire a new enchanter. She points to a wound, explaining their gear is literally falling to pieces, and they just keep failing every single dungeon run. She's freaking out, realizing their debt is piling up like crazy and they're about to go totally bankrupt. The blonde guy adds that one more screw-up and they could lose their adventurer licenses for good, which would be game over. Adele, so deep in despair, just bites his thumb, completely raging and helpless. The young warrior's frustration is just building and building, like this whole humiliating situation is just eating him alive. His blonde buddy finally breaks the silence, saying that rumor from before is really messing with his head. The woman totally agrees with him. Their downward spiral literally started the moment Desmond left. She adds that it's more than just bad luck on their quests. She feels this weird heaviness like all the time. Adele gets a sudden chill, admitting they get exhausted way faster now, and their bad luck has gone through the roof. Then it hits Adele, a totally awful realization. His eyes are bloodshot as he figures out who's to blame. His friends just look at him, completely confused, like they have no idea what he's talking about. The warrior slams his fist into the ground, furious, and blames Desmond for every single one of their problems. Adele is 100% convinced his old teammate put a curse on them to ruin their lives. His mind starts going to some seriously dark places, swearing he's going to get back at Desmond in the most messed up way he can think of. The redhead tries to talk some sense into him, saying she doubts Desmond is really the one behind all this. Then some random voice starts making fun of how pathetic they are. As the crew slinks away, totally humiliated, Adele's eyes are just burning with pure hate, completely obsessed with getting revenge. All of a sudden, they hear footsteps coming their way, and this guy with silver hair shows up with a super bright smile, claiming he knows all about Desmond. This mystery dude says he just ran a dungeon with Desmond, calling him the absolute worst enchanter all while having this seriously creepy smile. This total stranger. He's all like, who I am doesn't matter, and that he just wants to help them out. But Adele's crew is totally giving him the side eye, wondering why some rando would just show up wanting to help. But the super intense and kinda evil look in his eyes confirms it, making it crazy clear he's not there to be friends. Then his real reason for being there comes out. He offers them a foolproof way to get revenge on Desmond. The scene flips and we're suddenly in this quiet, booming city. We get a look at the huge Bristol Library, this seriously impressive building that's all about knowledge. Inside, the whole vibe is studious and smart with just endless rows of bookshelves. And guess who we find among all the scholars? Desmond, totally lost in a book. He's just thinking over everything he's learned. He's having a major realization about how crazy complex enchantment magic is, and it hits him that he's just been blindly leaning on his unique multiplication skill. But what really blows his mind is finding a totally revolutionary way to use it. Desmond discovers the enchantment stacking technique, a reveal that leaves him completely stunned. He gets that unlike just adding. His skill multiplies the base power, making it grow like exponentially. The young enchanter cracks a smile as he does the math on the insane value he could get with this. He figures this method is way beyond just being invincible. It opens up a whole new world of possibilities. But his research shows that this technique is actually forbidden and straight up banned by law. Just as he's wondering why, a mysterious hooded figure shows up out of nowhere. She sneaks up right behind him and says hi, making him jump and totally lose his focus. Super embarrassed, Desmond tries to shush her, which just gets everyone else in the library staring at them. Cynthia explains that she finished her mission and decided to find him since she had some downtime. For real though, she came to playfully keep tabs on him. After hearing he was at the library, she gets closer with a smile and praises him for being so dedicated to studying. Her being so close makes him all nervous, and this amazing scent completely distracts him. Cynthia totally knows the effect she's having on him and gives him this mischievous, playful look. Overwhelmed by how close she is, Desmond starts blushing and feels totally cornered. The cute guy in a total daze just blurts out that libraries are awesome places. He's so captivated by Cynthia's calm beauty that he's speechless for a second. The dude can't help but think about how insanely beautiful his friend is. He also thinks about how it's no wonder she's so popular, being a strong and kind S-rank adventurer. Then it suddenly dawns on Desmond that his friend is the center of attention in the super quiet library. A low buzz goes through the room as people recognize the famous S-rank adventurer, Cynthia. Feeling all the eyes on them, they both figure it's time to make a fast and quiet escape. The librarian tries to get things back in order, but even she's shocked to see the legendary hero in person. The people there know her as the Iceblood Princess, a nickname that makes Cynthia blush bright red with embarrassment. Desmond, totally confused by the title, looks at his friend who looks like she wants the floor to swallow her whole. To make their getaway faster, Cynthia just yanks Desmond by the wrist, practically dragging him toward the exit. The move totally starts a new wave of gossip, and now everyone's buzzing about who this mystery guy with the princess is. The crowd jumps to a wild conclusion, guessing he might be her boyfriend, which makes them both want to die of embarrassment. Totally overwhelmed, Cynthia insists they have to leave, pulling an equally shocked Desmond with her. A beet red and mortified Cynthia drags Desmond away with purpose, trying to escape the crowd. The poor guy just looks at her, completely baffled by their sudden and chaotic exit. The hero tries to hide her face in her hood, but she can't hide how embarrassed she is. They get away from the library, with Cynthia leading the charge, not letting go of his hand for a second. The feeling of her armored hand holding his just solidifies how unexpectedly close they've gotten. In all the chaos, Desmond can't stop himself from blushing like crazy, his heart pounding from the gesture. Even though he's embarrassed, a little smile spreads across his face as he soaks up the moment. Then Cynthia suddenly turns around with a killer smile, turning the whole tense escape into a kind of magical moment. Once they're safely outside, the warrior says she's sorry for causing such a scene. She admits she just wanted to see him but ended up crashing his important research. Desmond just plays it cool, telling her it's no big deal, and he can always hit the library another time. With a huge smile, he confesses that he was actually way happier hanging out with her. His super honest words really get to Cynthia, and she looks at him with this really tender expression. Then Desmond brings up her nickname, the Iceblood Princess, which makes Cynthia totally embarrassed all over again. She explains with a sigh that S-rank adventurers usually get stuck with nicknames they can't get rid of. Curious, Desmond mentions that his other friend Rafim is known as the Crimson Madness. Cynthia reveals that Rafim's nickname is because of her seriously ferocious destructive side, which absolutely terrifies Desmond. The guy remembers his own fight against Rafim and realizes she was holding back a ton. Desmond then asks if Cynthia's title is because she's got that kind of icy princess-like beauty. Hearing that Cynthia gives him this super charming and satisfied smile, clearly she liked the compliment. And the charming guy says he'd love to see Cynthia's power in a real fight someday. Out of nowhere, his buddies Ren and Garen appear, running and screaming his name like it's the end of the world. Desmond and Cynthia spin around asking what all the drama is about. And then the news hits them like a ton of bricks. Their friend Dorothy has been snatched. The sunset sky is painting. The whole scene with this intense vibe as they try to process the insane news. Not wasting a single second, the crew bolts for the main HQ to get the scoop. When they get there, they practically slam into Rafim, who's totally freaking out, demanding to know what happened to Dorothy. Rafim explains she sent Dorothy on an errand, but she just never came back and her magic signature completely vanished. The leader figures she was jumped by someone who can totally hide their presence, a thought that seriously spooks Desmond, who's already sick with worry. The charming guy just takes off dead set on finding his friend. A guard tells Rafim the Merc group caught 2 sketchy people and the kidnappers are demanding to see Desmond in exchange for spilling Dorothy's location. The guy is completely stunned, having no clue why the kidnappers are asking for him. Totally bewildered, Desmond wonders what he could possibly have to do with his friend getting nabbed. Then it hits him. The two people they caught are from his old sword clan. As night starts to fall, the group rushes over to where the prisoners are ending up at the super gloomy city prison, hoping to finally get some answers. One of his old teammates with a total death glare greets him from her cell with some serious resentment you could cut with a knife. She straight up blames him, saying him leaving is what ruined the clan. His other former buddy reveals that some mystery guy offered them a shot at getting revenge on him. The ex-teammate then drops the name Jean, a reveal that completely shakes Desmond. They fess up that Jean's whole plan was to kidnap Dorothy, the easiest target to lure Desmond into a trap. They remember with pure fear how they tried to stop their leader Adele, but he, totally blinded by revenge, just wouldn't listen. A flashback shows them getting brutally shoved aside by their own people. For going against the plan, they were left behind on purpose to be the messengers. What a final insult! They deliver the message he has to go to the Crystal Caverns alone, and with zero help from any S-rank adventurers. The threat is super clear if he disobeys. Dorothy's life will be in major danger. With a grim look, Desmond asks what the deadline is. The answer is blunt. He has until dawn the next day to save her. The sun sinks below the horizon, kicking off a desperate race against time to save his friend. Without a moment to lose, Desmond dives into the super creepy crystal caverns. The inside of the cave is packed with sharp stalactites and shiny crystals in a huge cavern. The stage for the showdown is officially set. A single solid step on the crystal floor announces the hero has walked right into the trap. In the distance, up on a ledge, his old crew is waiting with Dorothy as their hostage. Desmond and his group show up, seeing the horrible scene from below where she's tied up on the ground. Dorothy sees her friends, and her face is a total mix of relief and terror. The group reacts with pure anguish and rage. As soon as he confirms his friend's condition, Desmond's eyes fill with an icy fury, ready to do whatever it takes. Finally, the young man comes face to face with his former leader Adele, the psycho, who masterminded the kidnapping. A furious Adele lays into Desmond for not coming alone, for breaking his one rule. Jean, with a twisted smile, just waves off Desmond's friends, calling them a bunch of weaklings. Outraged, Desmond demands an explanation from Adele, insisting they could have just talked things out. Pure rage takes over Adele, who just screams back with so much resentment. The ex-leader accuses Desmond of ruining them with some supposed curse that destroyed their reputation. Totally confused, Desmond just listens as Adele blames him for the clan's downfall. From down below, the young man completely denies the accusations, not getting what curse he's even talking about. Jean just mocks Adele, calling him pathetic for blaming other people for his own failures. Garen, filled with rage, steps up, defending Adele's supposed right to get revenge. Ren, totally out of patience, demands to know who this mystery guy is and to let Dorothy go immediately. Garen defiantly says that with Desmond's enchantments, they're more than strong enough to beat them. Jean just gives a wicked grin, obviously amused by how naive they are. The mysterious man reveals that his organization is all about looting and doing twisted research. Jean pulls out a syringe with some red liquid, a product of his messed up experiments. In a shocking move, Jean jams the substance into an unsuspecting Adele's neck. From below, Desmond and his friends watch the whole thing frozen in horror. Adele, confused and in agony, demands to know why Jean just betrayed him like that. Jean cruelly taunts him, revealing he was just using Adele for his own game. Adele's body starts to mutate in a horrifying way, his arm transforming into a monstrous claw. Consumed by pain, the ex-leader screams as the grotesque transformation takes over his body. Adele's transformation keeps going, his mouth twisting into a monstrous jaw. The group screams in horror as they hear the pained screams of their former leader. Ren watches the scene with a look of absolute panic plastered on her face. A blood-curdling scream echoes through the cavern, marking the peak of the mutation. Jean smiles wickedly, revealing his plan was just to let the weak destroy each other. Adele's hand, now a grotesque claw, digs into the crystal floor. The former leader, totally twisted, she just keeps screaming like she's in some kind of insane pain. From down below, Desmond sees the asterisk thing Adele turned into, and it almost looks like it's begging for help before it just collapses. The creature's eyes are a crazy bloodshot, just filled with this wild, out-of-control rage. The horror of it all is written all over Desmond's face as he braces for what's coming. In her last sane moment, Adele just whispers the desperate plea for help. Desmond screams his old leader's name, staring at the spot where everything went nuts. Then this huge blast of red energy just erupts from Adele's body, finishing the terrifying transformation. The guy throws his arms over his face, totally overwhelmed by the shockwave and the messed up sight. His look hardens like he's finally accepting the messed up reality he has to face. You can see it in his eyes, he's dead set on stopping this monster. Adele's body starts swelling up to a massive size, getting covered in these tough gray scales. The change finally hits its peak, revealing a huge dragon that's crying tears of blood from the pain. Desmond is just frozen, he can't even process the monster standing in front of him. The beast, with all its creepy red eyes, has zero trace of the person Adele used to be. Rena is freaking out. She can't believe how huge the creature towering over them is. Desmond's face twists in pure panic as he finally gets how big of a threat this is. Totally desperate, the guy screams at his friends to run for it while they still can. The beast lets out a roar that literally shakes the whole cave down to its foundations. The cave ceiling starts to fall apart, raining down rocks and sharp crystals. Giant pieces of the cave crash down on the group, who can't even try to dodge them. Desmond gets knocked flat by the shockwave, struggling to get back up in the middle of all the chaos. When he finally gets to his feet, he sees in horror that his friends are buried under all the rubble. Rina's out cold on the ground, hurt by the falling rocks. Right next to her, Garen is knocked out too, completely defenseless. Desperate Desmond screams for his fallen friends, terrified for their lives. All of a sudden, he feels this super creepy presence of the beast right behind him, stalking him. Panic just takes over his face when he realizes he's all alone against the monster. He swallows hard, unable to wrap his head around the fact that where Adele was, there's now just this nightmare creature. With a new sense of determination, his eye glows blue as he fires up his Appraisal Eye skill. A status window pops up revealing the beast's identity. Its name is Adele, and its race is a Hydra. He's in total disbelief as he confirms his old leader has literally become a mythical creature. The information is crystal clear. The monstrous Hydra in front of him is without a doubt Adele. The beast roars with fury, confirming the insane transformation of a human into a monster. Desmond grinds his teeth, just filled with rage at something so cruel and heartless. After analyzing the beast, Desmond is horrified to see its stats are ridiculously high. He realizes the creature's power is A+ rank, a level of force that not even his enchantments can touch. From inside all the dust, a familiar person gets up. It's Dorothy the elf who'd been captured. Desmond runs over to her and she explains that the cave-in shattered her restraints, which let her break free. Suddenly, he senses an attack is coming and dives to protect Dorothy. The Hydra's monster tail smashes hard into the ground, right where they were standing just seconds before. Terrified, Desmond realizes the crew is back together, but the danger is way worse now that the exit is blocked by all the rubble. The guy comes to a seriously grim conclusion. They have to defeat the beast if they want to survive. Ren bravely offers to be a decoy and asks Desmond to power up her abilities for the fight. But he shoots down the idea, knowing that even with his magic, they could never get strong enough to beat the Hydra. Ren, getting desperate, demands Desmond tell her his plan since he shot hers down. The guy's face gets super serious, showing this grim, all-in determination that's actually a little unsettling. Desmond reveals there's only one way forward. His friends just stare at him confused, not getting what he means at all. The young mage reveals his secret weapon, the layered enchantment technique. Dorothy and Ren react in horror as the elf recognizes that the technique is forbidden. They both try to stop him, warning him that it's like the ultimate taboo among mages. Desmond insists that, even with the risk, it's the only option they have left to get out alive. The young man explains that this technique lets him stack the same spell to multiply its power like infinitely. Ren gets excited about the idea, but Desmond clarifies that he's the one who's going to get the dangerous enchantment. Dorothy warns a confused Ren that the technique has a really awful side effect. The young warrior is stunned to hear the warning about the dangerous spell. The elf explains that the user's body gets totally wrecked when the enchantment ends, with consequences that could easily be fatal. Desperate, Dorothy begs Desmond to stop reminding him that's exactly why it's a forbidden technique. Ignoring her begging, the guy holds out his hand, determined to use the mage's taboo. Seeing he won't back down, Desmond starts to explain his personal connection to the creature. The mage reveals that the beast is Adele, who used to be in his party. A flashback shows that his relationship with Adele was super rocky and ended in the worst way imaginable. Desmond admits with regret that he feels partly responsible for his former leader's monstrous transformation. With a determined look, he insists that facing this thing is his responsibility, and asks them to just let him handle it. Dorothy watches Desmond, her heart aching for him, totally getting how deep his pain runs. The young mage steps away from his crew, marching with purpose straight toward the beast. He stands there alone right in front of the monstrous creature. He's so ready for this showdown. The Hydra greets him with a roar so loud it's deafening, its eyes glowing with a crazy red fury. A flashback hits him, showing that with his new squad, he finally understood what being a real team felt like, filling him with some serious regret. He admits to himself he should have just talked to his old team. The beast roars back furiously as if it's mad it didn't go harder back in the day. From Adele's point of view, we see she also felt abandoned by a group that was leaning on Desmond. The creature roars, basically screaming that in the end, he ditched them too. Just as it's about to strike, a hand clamps down on it from behind, stopping it cold. Desmond screams at the beast, telling it that it's time to settle things once and for all. His voice cracking with regret, he cries out that he's going to fix the mistakes he made. The creature actually seems to react to his words, as Desmond vows he'll make up for everything he failed to do before. In response, the Hydra starts charging up some seriously sinister purple energy in its jaws. Ready to go, the beast unleashes a devastating blast of dark energy right at the young mage. Desmond doesn't even flinch, facing down the massive attack that's about to completely obliterate him. With a steady gaze, the kid preps his own spell, his staff glowing with a protective light. The Hydra's attack smashes into an invisible barrier, causing a colossal explosion of power. Through the smoke, a notification pops up revealing Desmond just used his enchantment magic. A status window shows he's jacked up his strength, vitality, agility, and resistance. But the young mage isn't done and slaps a second layer of enchantments on himself. A notification confirms that the strength, vitality, agility, and resistance spells have been doubled. Still not enough for him, Desmond pushes the forbidden technique to its limit and adds a third layer of power, showing zero signs of stopping. The mage stacks a fourth layer, making his abilities multiply like crazy. His original status window shows his stats were pretty humble before this dangerous ritual. The numbers on his profile start to glitch and skyrocket at a dizzying speed. His stats blow past 10 million in a split second. An insane amount of energy starts pouring out of his body, and with just one step, he cracks the ground under his feet. His new status reveals a ridiculous level of power, with stats that could rival a god's. Full of defiant rage, Desmond yells at the beast, ready to kick off the final battle against Adele. The Hydra lunges its jaws open wide, ready to tear him to pieces. The beast stares at Desmond with its many crimson eyes, recognizing the immense power that's now rolling off of him. Wrapped in a golden aura, the young mage faces it down with total determination. Without a second thought, the creature pounces, trying to end the fight with one huge bite. The beast's gigantic jaws close in on the mage, about to swallow him whole. But instead of getting crushed, a flash of power stops the brutal bite dead in its tracks. In the distance, his friends were totally freaking out, thinking it was game over for him. But then Desmond, with some insane superhuman strength, just grabs onto one of the beast's fangs. The young mage stops the creature's jaws with his bare hands, flexing his incredible new power. With a single move, Desmond yanks the colossal Hydra off balance, violently slinging it to the side. You can see the effort as Desmond channels his overwhelming power, gritting his teeth. The young mage roars with fury, letting out all the pent-up energy in his body. His golden aura just explodes, shattering the ground all around him. As he gets ready to attack, the Hydra, stunned by the show of strength, roars with a mix of shock and pain. Without giving it a chance to recover, Desmond shoots toward the beast's massive body, moving at a blinding speed, flying across the battlefield like a golden lightning bolt. His eyes lock onto his target, figuring out the perfect spot to land his next hit. The mage channels his power into his fist, which is crackling with devastating energy. With unstoppable force, he smashes it right into the creature's side. The beast writhes from the impact, taking some serious damage from the powerful punch. His friends just watch in total disbelief, unable to process the insane thing they just saw. Furious, the Hydra counters with a stream of dark energy from its mouth, but Desmond just meets it with a cold stare. His resolve is stronger than ever, so the beast switches tactics and throws a brutal claw swipe, trying to crush him without mercy. The young mage stands his ground, taking the hit, which kicks up a massive cloud of dust and debris. With a defiant calm, he gets ready to strike back, his golden aura blazing intensely. He catches the attack with his hand, stopping the creature's gigantic claw right where it is. Gritting his teeth, the mage pushes back against the beast's insane force, his energy crackling around his hand as he fights for control against the monstrous claw. Planting his feet, Desmond cracks the ground beneath him, ready to unleash his power. With a war cry, Desmond unleashes an explosion of golden power. Using his mind-blowing strength, he lifts the gigantic Hydra straight over his head. His friends watch, completely stunned by the incredible sight. In one move, he totally yeets the massive beast into the air, sending it flying across the whole battlefield. The young mage catches his breath, his game face still on after that insane show of strength. From way back, the squad is totally shook that the Hydra got owned so easily. The creature just roars, completely furious, its crimson eyes burning with pure hate after that humiliation. The second it lands, the beast squares up with Desmond again, all its mouths wide open for a counterattack. The Hydra's body starts to swell up and get all warped, surrounded by this super creepy dark energy. His friends just know things are about to get way more intense. All of a sudden, the Hydra unleashes its gnarliest attack, a tail swipe, that's meant to completely obliterate its opponent. The impact is so brutal it makes the entire cavern shake, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. While his friends are totally bugging out, the blonde elf just smiles, completely trusting in Desmond's power. A super thick cloud of dust and debris is hiding the aftermath of that violent clash. The beast is just staring at the crater it made, trying to spot any sign of its enemy. Its multiple crimson eyes are gleaming with this wicked, triumphant vibe, like it thinks it totally won. But then Desmond emerges completely untouched. He launches through the air, heading straight for the creature's head with a furious yell. The young mage preps a punch, charged up with golden energy, his eyes blazing with pure determination, ready to deliver the final blow. The Hydra's eye gets huge, reflecting its sheer terror as it sees the mage about to strike. Desmond's fist explodes in a golden flash, slamming the Hydra square in the head. The beast's silhouette lets out a silent roar as the energy from the hit just consumes its head. The creature's body twists through the air, completely thrown off by that final attack. The Hydra comes crashing down to the ground, its head smacking the ground with a force that leaves it totally still. In the distance, his friends just stare at the beast's lifeless body. Still stunned by the victory, the young mage lands. His golden aura fades away as he catches his breath after the fight. The group can't even believe what they're seeing, wondering if he actually defeated it. But then the Hydra's body starts glowing with a purple light, signaling that the danger is so not over. The blonde elf lets out a scream, realizing the whole situation just took a crazy turn. Desmond, though, just winks at the new threat with this unbreakable confidence. The purple light explodes, revealing the Hydra was not what it seemed at all. From the beast's remains, a dark and seriously menacing humanoid silhouette starts to rise. Its monstrous claws dig into the ground, revealing its true and terrifying form. The creature's shape shifts, changing back into a human body. In the Hydra's place, there's a gray-haired man, knocked out cold on the ground. His friends realize Desmond is back to normal. His power isn't showing anymore. The young mage looks at the defeated guy, the real enemy who was hiding behind the beast, with a completely surprised look on his face. Desmond seems to recognize the man who's collapsed at his feet. In the distance, the rest of the group is just processing the victory, relieved but still completely amazed. While his friends are celebrating their win, Desmond's attention is still glued to his mysterious opponent. The defeated man mutters something about a complete victory before passing out again. Desmond gets this smug smirk, his golden aura still crackling around him. Suddenly, this awful feeling runs through his body like something inside him is breaking. His hand starts to shake uncontrollably, a sign that something is majorly wrong. He loses his balance as his legs just won't listen, shaking violently. The young mage realizes with horror that he's suffering the side effects of his own power. His friends just watch helplessly, their faces filled with panic as they see what's happening to him. A scream of pure agony escapes his lips as this unbearable pain just consumes him. A series of notifications starts detailing the devastating injuries his body is taking on. Despite the agony, he somehow stays standing, facing the consequences with an unbreakable will. The pain gets so intense that his face just contorts in pure agony. Finally, his body gives out and he collapses violently to the ground right in front of his stunned friends. The group is in a full-blown panic. They don't know how to help their fallen friend on the ground. Desmond's consciousness starts to fade from the insane amount of damage he took. With his last ounce of strength, he realizes that his entire body is paralyzed. He feels like every single fiber of his being is tearing apart, paying the price for going way over his limits. Suddenly, a flurry of ice crystals appears out of thin air, interrupting the super tense scene. The group turns around, alarmed and surprised by this sudden display of new power. The gray-haired man gets up, screaming Desmond's name with absolute fury, accusing Desmond of betrayal and of trying to take him out, revealing they have some kind of history. The gray-haired man points fingers at all of them, but the blonde girl fires back furiously, calling him the worst adventurer, period. The dark-haired elf is just silently trembling with rage, wishing the absolute worst for her enemy. Fed up with all the yelling the man demands, they shut up his patience, totally shot. The blonde girl and the dwarf are totally stunned by the man's sudden explosion of anger. The young blonde then calls out the elf, unable to believe her cruelty and total lack of empathy for Desmond. Through her tears, the elf explains that Desmond could have used enchantments instead of putting his life on the line. The gray-haired man listens intently, his whole expression changing as he processes this new information. The elf reveals that layering enchantments is a forbidden technique that literally destroys the user's body. With a broken voice, the blonde girl insists that Desmond had zero reason to face him directly. She breaks it down, saying he could have easily smoked him from a distance, basically turning his own power against him until he crashed. The elf totally loses it, screaming that that move is not just messed up, it's literally against the law. Sobbing, she remembered pleading with Desmond to just stop telling him how Desmond totally got it and refused to use his power on the guy. The gray-haired man just looked completely floored, like it was finally clicking. He realized Desmond chose to sacrifice himself instead of just wiping him out. She explained that Desmond went head-to-head with him because he was trying to help like a real friend would. She totally laid into him, saying it was his own cluelessness about Desmond's good heart that made him kick him out. The guy just stood there processing the insane truth. The kid he'd betrayed was actually an amazing ally. You could see the shock all over his face. Realizing what a horrible mistake he'd made, the elf desperately begged him to stop hurting Desmond, who was just lying there completely helpless. Desmond's eyes were totally zoned out, like he wasn't even there for all the drama going down. Then out of nowhere, some random dude showed up, looking down on the whole crew and their fallen friend. The new guy just clicked his tongue, acting like this whole thing was a total waste of his time. The group just stared completely shocked as he made fun of their little drama fest, calling it a joke. Suddenly it hit the blonde girl and her eyes went wide. With this wicked grin, the silver-haired guy powered up with crackling energy, pulling out his short sword, totally ready to end them right then and there. His face twisted into this super nasty sneer. He was so sure taking them out would be a piece of cake, so he blasted this insane wave of purple energy right at Desmond's friends. The force of the hit sent the whole group flying, throwing them everywhere. From the ground, Desmond could only watch, totally furious and helpless, as his friends got wrecked. The mystery attacker walked over to Desmond, saying it was game over for him. The silver-haired jerk gloated, telling Desmond to just crawl away and die. A massive pillar of purple energy came crashing down on a totally helpless Desmond, freaking out. The young mage could only watch his own end coming for him. His eyes were wide with panic, like he just couldn't believe this was happening. But then a hand shot out a totally unexpected move to stop the disaster. The gray-haired man jumped right in front of Desmond, taking the full force of the blast. Desmond just stared, completely stunned, trying to figure out why his old leader was suddenly protecting him. The attacker was so mad that his finishing move got blocked. His face went from angry to totally shocked by this crazy twist. The guy who was Desmond's enemy was now his shield. Taking the brutal hit, Desmond watched in complete disbelief, still not getting why his ex-leader would sacrifice himself for him. The gray-haired man gritted his teeth, holding on against the insane power of the attack with everything he had. The young mage, totally desperate, screamed his protector's name, just watching in horror. The blast was so intense it literally cracked the ground under the guy's feet as he fought back. In the end, the energy was too much and sent him flying, leaving him super messed up on the ground. Desmond was just a mess of confusion and pain, and as he crawled over to him, he demanded to know why he'd do something like that. The young mage just kept asking why he saved him after everything, using the last bit of his strength. The injured guy, his face covered in blood, just told him to shut up. Desmond froze, watching his old captain dying right in front of him with this sad little smile. He said that's what real friends do. They protect each other, even if it means giving everything up. Desmond just lay there, the captain's final words sinking in. Tears started streaming down his face as he whispered the name of the guy who just died for him. The attacker, like a total psycho, just kicked Adele's dying body, showing zero respect. The hit was nasty, and the gray-haired man coughed up blood, his life just slipping away. Filled with the rage he couldn't do anything about, Desmond screamed at the attacker to get away from his fallen friend. The silver-haired jerk just laughed it off, pretending he couldn't hear him with this smug smile. Then, with a look that was pure evil, he announced he wasn't about to listen to a guy who was already dead. Desmond gritted his teeth, his face all twisted with rage and feeling totally useless. Then out of the blue, a huge blast of blue energy shot right at the villain. The attacker's jaw totally dropped, completely blindsided by the interruption. Two mysterious figures showed up on the scene, telling Desmond he'd put up a good fight. It turned out to be two warrior girls, one decked out in armor, and the other with this creepy smile, looking like they were ready to take over. From the ground, Desmond knew who the new arrivals were. As the bad guy turned shocked to see them, he gritted his teeth, realizing he was up against some seriously tough warrior chicks. Annoyed by how crazy powerful they seemed, he whipped out a syringe full of some red stuff, probably wishing he'd finished the job before they got there. Staring down the warrior's blank expression, the desperate villain told them not to move. He grabbed Desmond and threatened him with a deadly shot, using him as a human shield. The needle of the syringe was right there at the young mage's neck, way too close for comfort. With this totally unhinged laugh, he bragged that he could end Desmond's life in a second. All of a sudden, spikes of blue energy shot through the villain, cutting his threat short in a majorly brutal way. The villain just stared totally in shock as the pain from the sneak attack hit him. He gasped, looking down at the energy spikes sticking out of his body. And in that one moment, it all clicked for Desmond, and he finally understood the truth about one of the warriors. He remembered her nickname wasn't about her being pretty. It was for something way, way scarier. The blue energy crackled like crazy, completely pinning the silver-haired guy in place. The villain is totally writhing in agony, completely unable to escape the power that's got him pinned. The armored warrior just effortlessly takes him down her vibe, completely dominating the scene with an ice-cold stare. The warrior just tells him to shut it, showing zero respect. The villain gets slammed into the ground, totally owned by her insane strength. And that's when it finally clicks for Desmond. He gets why her nickname comes from how ruthless and cold she is in a fight. The armored warrior just watches the whole thing with a chilling look, proving exactly why they call her the ice-blooded princess. Her partner starts clowning on the defeated villain, saying he's a total lost cause now. But the armored warrior chews her out for her chill attitude and orders her to go help the injured like now. She kneels down next to Desmond, looking super worried about him, as he asks if the fight's really over. The young mage bitterly admits his wounds are a nasty side effect of his own power, and that healing is basically useless. Totally crushed. He moans that his whole career as an adventurer is over, breaking a promise he made when he was a kid. The scene then cuts to a massive castle wrapping up this whole whirlwind of revenge. We see the inside of the castle. It's a dead silent hallway leading to the recovery wing. A sign above a door confirms they've put Desmond in the infirmary, even though the battle's done. A brand new painful chapter is just getting started for the young mage. The castle hallway leads to the recovery area, a place that's all calm after the storm. The sign on the door confirms Desmond is in the infirmary, starting his long road back. The young mage is beet red, totally overwhelmed by all the attention as his friends try to spoon-feed him. Surrounded by the warriors, Desmond keeps insisting he can take care of himself, getting a weird feeling of déjà vu from the whole situation. Then, bam, his old guildmates bust into the room, offering to take care of him with an insane amount of energy. The young mage, seeing his whole crew together, is actually more worried about how his friends are doing. One of his old pals brings up the rumors about how messed up Desmond was, and that he was impossible to cure. But then the adventurer's whole expression changes, hinting the story didn't end like everyone thought. It turns out the side effects were completely cancelled out by a literal miracle. A sacrifice from the commander who straight up absorbed all the damage. With a grim look, Desmond confesses his guilt, explaining the commander took the fall to save him. The commander just smiles and tells him not to blame himself, but to just see it as something he did for Desmond's own good. He explains that it's a leader's job to protect their squad, and that his adventuring career was pretty much done for anyway. One of his female friends sighs, totally moved by the commander's selflessness. Desmond argues back, freaking out that the commander's condition will mess up his daily life, and brings up that he used a forbidden technique. His buddies remind him that he got a pass for using it since it was clearly self-defense. The commander tries to calm him down again, insisting that he shouldn't be stressing about the problems he thinks he created. He reveals the higher-ups decided it was way more valuable for Desmond to be healthy than some guy who was basically retired. With total pride, he says it's an honor for a veteran to take one for the team for a young, promising talent. Suddenly, Desmond's whole tone shifts, and he reveals the commander's condition isn't a lost cause. He explains that in the dungeon they're exploring, there's still a ton of unknown treasures and items that could hold the key to his recovery. He mentions there might be a legendary treasure in that dungeon that can cure any physical injury. The commander gives a little smile, saying it makes sense for an item like that to be in there. He gives Desmond a new mission: find that item as proof of what their team can do together. Clenching his fist, the young mage accepts the challenge full of a brand new fire. His eyes are literally shining with purpose as he swears he'll make it happen. His friends all get hyped and jump in to help, ready to help him search. The commander from his bed tells Desmond he has an important mission for him right now. The scene switches to a huge hall in the guild, where you can hear a massive crowd buzzing. Tons of adventurers have shown up, all waiting on edge for some big announcement. Rumors are flying through the crowd about the commander being in the hospital and the shaky future of their brigade. A powerful voice from the balcony yells for the noisy crowd of adventurers to quiet down. An official confirms the commander's in the hospital and announces a new mission and a major change in leadership. Someone's footsteps echo on the balcony, making the tension before the announcement totally unbearable. To everyone's complete shock, Desmond is named the interim commander of the 5th Brigade. The crowd goes wild with shocked whispers, not believing the young mage's crazy promotion. Totally overwhelmed by all the stares, Desmond nervously starts to talk to the crowd, so insecure he doesn't know where to start. He admits he's got flaws, but shows he's determined to lead them all while bracing for them to hate it. A supportive voice cuts him off, yelling that nobody has a problem with it. His old guildmates start cheering for him like crazy, promising they've got his back and will shut down any haters. So moved by his friends' trust, Desmond stands tall with a new wave of confidence, ready to step up. With tears in his eyes, Desmond accepts his new role, vowing he'll do his absolute best. With his new title, the young mage leaves the hall to start his first mission as leader. His old friends see him off cheering and celebrating his major glow-up, a promotion, and are totally ready to roll with him. Meanwhile, these two warrior chicks are hiding out, plotting to crash the next adventure. The super cold princess is actually blushing, admitting she's down to go, and her friend is totally roasting her for being so shy all of a sudden. A bandaged hand gives Desmond and his crew a wave, wishing them good luck as they head out. Then out on the street, some adventurer girl starts hitting on Desmond like with zero shame, making her friend super jealous. The young mage is just standing there, shocked by these two girls suddenly fighting over him. But then his eyes get drawn to a window where he spots the commander laid up in a hospital bed, and seeing him all weak and hooked up to a breathing machine is a major reality check about how urgent this mission is. But even though he's in bad shape, the commander gives him this super confident gesture like he knows Desmond's got this. Desmond waves back with a huge smile, feeling a fresh wave of hope. With everyone's spirits totally boosted, the crew takes off, leaving the guild in the dust. From his window, the commander watches them go with this satisfied smirk. The scene then flips to this crazy lush forest under a perfect blue sky, the place they're headed. Finally, the squad rolls up to the dungeon entrance, which looks super intimidating and dark. Desmond steps up, ready to lead his team into the cave like a true boss, but totally hyped. One of the warrior girls just bolts ahead, completely ignoring her friend's warnings. Then boom, flashback to some earlier time, showing this mysterious silver-haired dude who's already messed up pretty bad. The camera zooms in on the guy's face. He's passed out and looks totally wrecked from a nasty fight. Some mysterious woman walks up to the injured dude and starts chewing him out for being so reckless. Crazy powerful healing magic starts pouring from her hand, wrapping the guy in this green glow. She lets loose this massive healing spell, and this life-giving energy just completely swallows him. The guy starts coughing, reacting to the insane magic rush as his wounds start to stitch themselves up. He slowly cracks his eyes open, the healing light reflecting in them as he comes to. Then floating in the air, he's totally fuming, swearing he'll never forgive the woman who left him like that. The scene then cuts to some green-haired lady who asks him all high and mighty if he found anyone useful. Clenching his fist, the silver-haired guy is practically shaking with rage as he confirms he found his target. And his target is none other than Desmond Stiv, a mage who uses some kind of one-of-a-kind enchantment magic. His eyes flash with a purple glint, giving away the seriously evil plan he's cooking up. A messed-up memory hits the guy hard, showing him getting brutally wrecked by some weird red magic. Totally desperate, he's screaming at some woman named Kate to stop, his face all twisted in panic. He's begging her to lay off the recovery magic because his body just can't handle it anymore. Then we see this totally twisted woman. She's just watching, totally amused by what her insane power has done. With this creepy calm vibe, she's like, "Oops, I went a little overboard with my victim again." Her purple eyes light up as she thinks about Desmond seeing him as some fascinating new project.